Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
We are, welcome to the live. We are live once again. We
We're
have
back.
not gone off the internet, as you can see.
We may have been drowning in work outside of this channel, but now we're in the deep end, ready to talk about this new documentary from Teal
Yeah,
Swan. That was my prepared speech, not really.
and Kayla is like fittingly in the ocean right now. Sorry,
I'm
in the
I'm healing
pool.
myself. I'm healing
The
myself
deep
by
end.
drowning. That's
You're
what
in
you're
the
supposed to
deep
do.
end of a pool, right?
Yes, yeah. I'm in the deep end. I'm being held underwater by my healers as we speak.
Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds great. Um, I have had a very busy time. Sorry for canceling last time, everyone. But I'm happy to report today was my last exam and I have passed. It's
Yay!
over.
That's exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah, 10 years in the making.
Dang. It's nice that they allow you to know right away. That is nice.
Well, yeah. I think they worked like kind of alongside us. Like we had the exam and then they started like looking at things. So yeah. I
Congrats.
think
That's
of
awesome.
this. Yeah, I think of this as a corrective emotional experience. You know, just like
You can de stress and you can talk about your deepest inner feelings while on live stream.
yeah, exactly.
I
And
like it.
I'm no longer traumatized by the university I went to. So you
Nice.
know, I'm no longer
No more trauma.
I'm no longer in Teal Swan's audience right now.
Ah, that's good. Well,
Yeah, it's
there's
good
always
actually.
time to go back. Don't fret.
Oh man, after seeing this, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. So Cam watched it this morning or today. So she's like fresh off of watching all 4 episodes, right? In a row, you watch them?
Yeah, all
Okay.
together.
So you got the full experience. So that's pretty, I think that's good. I watched them every week as they came out. So I kind of had the stagnated experience, the early 2000s, weekly digestion of this content. So you might actually know probably more details than I remember.
Yeah, I noted down some stuff so we can discuss because my
Perfect.
God, I did not like this was great. I really just kind of went into it being like, they probably don't have that much stuff like they because she allowed them in. So I'm like, she probably, but she acted like more of a bitch than I thought she was.
I think the documentary film crew, I believe, was there for like a year covering that
Oh
and getting
wow.
and getting all that footage. So, I feel like, and I find it too, the longer a stream is on or like the longer the camera is on for, the more you forget that it's there. So in the beginning, whenever I do something on camera, I'm more like straight laced. Like even right now, like we're just beginning, we're kind of like getting into it. By hour 3, I'm like, we're down. I'm like, my screen's like here. I'm like, anyways, I'm like more open about what I'm thinking. And I think probably that might be what happened to her. Like after some time passed, like she kind of forgot, like this is being captured and recorded and it's probably not going to make me look good. That's my
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. And I made documentaries, and that's kind of like the purpose that we had. I mean, not necessarily in like an evil way, but we were just, at least I would go only very few times I went with like a cameraman. Most times I would go in with my own camera, like a small camera, and I would place it somewhere and I would just like, I didn't want to attract attention like with a lot of lights and a lot of like equipment. I just wanted it to be like kind of seamless so that
Yeah.
people don't feel like they're being disrupted, so that they can just be themselves and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it looked great. It was great. They had a lot of stuff in there. I'm impressed with the stuff they got. As like a former producer, that is amazing.
Yeah, and I was very surprised. I'm kind of glad that it covered different things than I was expecting because did you listen to the podcast first, The Gateway? Have you listened to that one yet? Okay, so that's like another one about her life and about like her teachings. And so I got a lot of information from that. But this was almost like completely different than that. They didn't go to, I was expecting them to go to Costa Rica and talk about her retreat there and more about like her healing stuff, which, you know, obviously has major problems. But I was sort of glad that they talked about her personal life with the guy as like and the new wife. That was sort of the full, I thought was like the biggest point of it all, was like their dynamic in that relationship. And I had never heard that before. I had no idea who that person was. So that was to me like interesting, and it kept me engaged because I was like, okay, like I probably know the gist, I'll watch it anyways, but this was like all new info for me. So it was interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And unless you were there, like you would have not. And obviously, like they were allowed loads of access, which is so surprising. Like honestly, I did not think that they would get that much access to everything. It's insanity the kind of stuff they got. But I think, any kind of podcast or any kind of research, we would not be able to get that kind of stuff unless we like,
Stalked her
hired someone to
or in the
pretend
bushes.
that they're like, we're just too obviously against it.
Yeah.
So,
I think they would, she'd be like, I had a feeling about you. I'm like, oh my God, she's on to us.
yeah, yeah.
There's like no
Um,
website though for this that I can find. It's kind of like, I mean, you watched it on Hulu. I watched it on Hulu. It's on Freeform, but there's like online, it's sort of buried. Because even on YouTube, there's like no trailer. There's nothing that I've been able to find to even show like a lot of great info. And like
yeah.
all the articles are like the videos, they made the video private. It was like the trailer. I'll show you. Give me one second. So I don't know if that's because Teal is like trying to bury it or she has some sort of pull. We're going to talk about her reaction to the documentary, and we'll talk about like she put out 4 videos, one after each episode aired. And she talks about, I haven't watched them all, but I saw a couple clips, and it was like basically how the editors did her bad and
Of
gave her a
course.
rough edit. It's like all the bachelors and bachelorette people say the same thing, like, oh, it's all reality. It's not fake. It's a reality show. The editors make it bad. And I'm sure that's true to a point, but I don't know how you could fake all of that.
Well, I mean, okay, so first of all, when you film stuff like this, you have a ton of footage. Like you don't just have editors, you have like editing producers,
A
you have like
team.
people having to go through everything and just kind of be like, okay, what are we going to leave out and what are we going to put in? Because you there's no fucking way that you can put everything in. This is not like, it's not a YouTube channel where they
Yeah.
can just post like 100,000 videos. This is a series. And even after that, once you have like a cut, you still have to go to your commissioners. They would have had to go to Hulu and be like, okay, so this is the cut. And Hulu would have an
Final
opinion,
say.
probably, and be like, oh, we don't know about this bit here. Maybe this is too much. Maybe this is misinformation. So Hulu might have had some thoughts at the end as well that
Sure.
it's not always, sometimes they would just kind of come back and be like, it's fine. But I
Yeah.
think that every sort of channel has their own rules. So it depends. Like, I think if you were to, I don't know.
Ignore this in the background. Sorry. I couldn't skip it. Okay, sorry. Continue.
But yeah, so basically, I had a situation where I made a documentary, and one of the main people in the documentary, had been in prison for manslaughter.
Oh.
And he didn't tell me until like we were about to start. So this is very like late stages that I found out.
Oh yeah.
And
Okay. I think I remember you telling me this.
oh, did I? Yeah.
I
So
think
then
so.
I went to BBC, and they were like, "Ooh, no, 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 we cannot put someone on screen because there might be like victims or people of the like victims' families and stuff like that." So for that reason, because it's almost like sort of a commercial, and because the documentary had nothing to do with his life in that way, it could be like, oh, this person's getting like positive attention, but there's victims like watching that could potentially be like
offended by
So
it, or yeah.
yeah, and basically that was like an extreme case, I suppose, but that was a rule that I had no idea that it even existed. So I was like, okay, fair enough,
And I think that's a
I-
European rule too, because we don't have anything like that in the United States. I believe they don't care here. They're like, put it on. The victim, make it a series. Like true crime is there's no restrictions whatsoever, as far as I know, for who you're allowed
yeah,
to
but
feature or talk about. Like there's no, it's all free
but I
market.
think that for that is like a different thing, because in that story they're telling you what happened with that person, but I would have had a completely different thing. Like this was not about him and his story with that. So
Yeah,
he was completely like, that story was completely tangential, and because of that it could come across as like this person's trying to talk about discrimination in like, you know um communities that have like a sort of what's the word, a background that is not I don't know, it was like a minority community, and so he could be like a voice for that community, and then
like they don't want
and
that to be their voice. Okay, now I got it. Yeah,
yeah,
I feel
it
you.
had, because it had nothing to do with, with the story. I feel like
Okay.
if my story was about him, I would be like, okay, fair enough, I'm telling the story of this. um I guess, I think that, I'm assuming that's how it works, because BBC also have those kind of things.
They decided to care that day for whatever reason. Um, that's interesting. Do you want to watch the trailer? I did find a trailer. It's not from the official website, but still, it looks like it's the trailer, just to give people a little idea of what we're discussing if they haven't seen the series. I recommend watching it, even though it's definitely triggering in many ways, for many reasons, but I don't think probably the trailer would be that bad. Should we watch it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What we're going to be doing is what I call channeling. It's an incredibly dangerous process. It's also one of the most powerful tools that has ever existed.
Don't you tell another lie.
This is Teal Swan.
Don't you
To her followers, she's a savior.
You've got equal amounts of joy and power as you do despair.
Teal Swan has over 145 million views online.
I got tattooed.
I never heard anyone
Remember that part?
speak so much truth. I feel like she's Jesus.
Never a good sign.
When I first met Teal, I was just kind of awestruck in a way. Teal experienced the worst of the worst, and she knows I would die for this.
We hired a private investigator.
My job is to try to figure out if this is a cult or not.
We've had members leave.
What do you think about this list?
Most of it is illegal.
The people in my life have to be more dedicated to mission. If you want to come within 50 miles of me, you better be ready for the deepest end of the pool.
It's like, what are you willing to do for this cause? I was so washed. I'd be willing to kill someone and bury them in the backyard.
I feel like I am this spokesperson for every lost toy. How many of you feel like you're not doing okay?
I'm trying to find the truth in this mess.
It's not what I thought it would be. You feel like an adversary to me.
She started something that's grown beyond her control.
If I say I'd like to get to the point where I'm more spiritually influential than the Pope, some people will be like, yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
The Deep End premieres May 18th on Freeform and stream on Hulu.
All right, so there you go, everybody. I think that was a great trailer, personally.
Yeah.
That kind of captured it, but kept it like interesting and exciting.
And didn't give anything away. Yeah, it's a great trailer. It's a great series, you guys. If you want to watch, if you have like a Hulu account, go ahead. Like, but there's like, I don't know how many triggers. There's triggers at the beginning of it though, so it's fine. Like you will be notified in advance. But Man, okay. So first of all, I thought from the beginning when I saw the guy Blake is her ex. They were together like
Ex-boyfriend
18,
Blake, yeah.
yeah, like
Let me find him.
19, 18 years ago, and he's been living with her and her husbands and boyfriends since.
That was
Like,
crazy. I was like,
that
what?
was so crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to look for Blake. Where is he? He was in the middle.
And
He,
on top of this, one of other like big thing that I noticed is like she has a kid. The kid is nowhere like in this at all.
Around.
Like,
yeah.
where is the kid? Like, she never spends any time with the kid. Like, there's no. I saw him on a trampoline, I think, at one point, and that was it.
I mean, that could be because she didn't want him on the camera. You know, who knows? There's elements there that like, is that how she is in life? Like, is this a true representation, or was he kept off because the filming aspect? So I don't know if she spends time with her kid or not. If he's living there on the compound, that would be odd and very ironic because she claims she was in a cult and she didn't get to see her family and she was living with this random person. So for her to create that environment for her kid to live in, I'm not saying she's in a satanic cult. Like she claims she was, okay, there's Blake. But she definitely is creating an environment where it's like random strangers that are paying her money to get healed are in and out of the property very often. I don't think that's a super safe place to be for a teenager. He's like a teenager, right?
Right. But the thing is, like, that's where she lives. So where is the kid? Like, if he doesn't live there, where does he live?
Does he have a dad that's like involved? I don't know. I know she's got like 5 ex-husbands or something like that. Kind of a higher number.
Yeah. Maybe he lives with the dad. I don't know. But the thing is, like, I feel like that sort of, it made me think, but this could be just to do with the fact that they didn't touch on her family, like her, I guess her current family, because they did talk about her previous family, but they didn't touch on her current family much, and
No.
I guess it could be just like an editing decision. Maybe they had too much stuff and they were like, okay, we need to leave some things out, or it could be that he just never sees her. He's never around.
Yeah, I don't know. I think regardless, as someone said, it's like they're glad the kid's not in it. I agree. I think anytime you can leave a kid out of any scenario, especially when it's like weird and wacko like this, I prefer, unless, I don't know. I guess unless there was like, it was raising awareness of like, this is really happening and it's bad. And then to get it out on camera would be helpful. But other than that, I would just prefer like kids off. They can't consent to it. I just rather not have them involved in production or anything because that footage lasts forever. The storyline lasts forever. It's much harder for you as an adult than like, I don't know. It's like the whole thing with like kid vloggers and stuff and mommy vloggers and family channels and all that. It's like as a kid, you're forced to do what your parents say. And then as an adult, you have to live with the consequences. And I just don't think that's fair. So I'm sort of, I agree that.
I know. I'm not saying that he should have been in it. I'm just saying that I guess like as a mother, she didn't come across as like as great because she never spent any time with him, like not even once in the whole thing. Like
or had interest really expressing. The only thing Teal Swan cares about is Teal Swan.
Yeah.
So it seems.
Oh man.
Yeah. So the thing with Blake that I find interesting, and I see someone was talking about her story. So we watched the whole news report, remember, from Idaho, where we talked about Teal Swan's background and like what she claims happened with her family and like her getting kidnapped and all that. The timeline doesn't make sense because she said when she was a teen, she moved in with him when he was 15. How did they meet? They went to high school together. So where did high school come from? She was talking about being in a corpse. Like she was sewn up in a corpse and then the next day went to high school. Like something's missing here. I mean, like,
or something is like added in, I would say. the okay, I just having seen this, it was very obvious to me that she is putting like thoughts into people's heads a lot. At least in the way that she does her quote unquote therapy, because that's not what it is. But she will put thoughts into people's minds, even when like she will often revert to like that person's parents being at fault for something. And I'm not saying that,
They're
it's
not, but
impossible for parents to be at fault, but I think there were a few moments when I was like, okay, this person just completely manufactured some of these memories. And I think if you have like a powerful hallucination or something, and you then you rethink about it a lot, it could become a memory. It could like it's not that it would become a memory, but like your brain could think, yeah, it's the
it
same thing,
is.
like this happened.
It's a highly controversial topic that goes on and continues to go on in psychology and psychiatry and mental health care, at large. Like, are repressed memories really repressed memories, or can they be implanted by suggestive conversation by a therapist who, that's their belief or their guess, and they're putting these thoughts in your head? There's someone that talked about it recently was Gabby Bernstein, and she said that when she was like 35 or something, she had a memory, she remembered a whole traumatic thing, and that explains why she was an addict. And she kind of like said, oh, I just had I was in therapy, not sure what therapy she was in, but she's like, in therapy I just the memory came back to me. And there's a lot of debate whether that is true and that happens, because people will say, and I hate it, self-help people in general, gurus will say, your brain won't allow you to have a bad memory that you can't handle. It'll just tuck it away for your protection. And then when you're ready, when you're strong enough, it'll come out. And from what I can tell, there is no study, there is no proof of that as a concept. It is a theory that is out there, but it is no better of a theory than memories can be implanted if you are, going through a traumatic event, trying to figure it out. Someone says, well, what, were you sexually assaulted? And you go, maybe, yeah. And then you think of like what that would have looked like. And then all of a sudden now you're like, oh, I have a memory of it. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Yeah. I'm just saying it's not like as cut straightforward as these gurus will tell you, like, yeah, just, think about your childhood and then find something to latch onto. It's messy, It's complicated, it's nuanced.
And it's very debated again whether or not that's a good thing to actually like go back and discover, I guess, some of these forgotten memories, because there are like, I think that the brain is not capable of storing everything, and there will be things that you have experienced that you'll forget, because as you grow older, and like there's other things that need to take space, I guess, like some of those gigabytes go to like the new stuff.
Yeah.
So that will happen
so much.
But there's loads and loads of people, therapists, and even I've spoken to a hypnotherapist who was my patron, who told me that she doesn't necessarily think that it's needed to go back to that traumatic memory. So basically, these re-traumatizing experiences, even when they are true, are not always necessary. And to me is that at one point she said that she wanted her methods to be adopted by mainstream psychology, but she doesn't
believe in it.
Trust. Yeah, she doesn't believe in mainstream psychology. She doesn't trust mainstream psychology. So like, what's the point? Why would you want your methods adopted by a body that you don't trust? Like,
that's the same thing with the holistic psychologist. Like the holistic psychologist on Instagram, huge account, like has a lot of followers. People, share her stuff all the time. I used to share her stuff before I kind of looked into her a little bit. And same thing. She like hates the industry. Dr. Amen, similar too, hates psychiatry, talks very negatively about it, like the industry is flawed and whatever. I'm not saying it's not, but they have no problem with listing their credentials as a way to get people to trust them, but then totally shit on the entire industry. So it's like, okay, like I'm a little confused. Like Teal has no training, no background at all in psychology. All her methods are from her own experience because she's, special, selected by the universe to have above human abilities, eye roll. Yeah, it's funny how that pops up a lot. It's like when it's convenient for them to say, oh, well, psychologists agree with me, they'll say that. But then in the next breath, someone says like, psychology doesn't agree with you. It's like, well, that whole industry is, toxic and horrible and stupid. It's like, okay, so which is it? You like it?
Yeah.
You respect it or you don't?
It's a walking contradiction. Like the entire person is a walking contradiction. Like she will say like, I have like these psychic abilities. I can like read people's minds before they even speak, or like I can feel people's emotions. But it's like, okay, but you didn't feel all of those like bad things happening. Like, because she said that she had these psychic abilities as a child, and that's why she was diagnosed with everything. No, she was diagnosed with everything, according to her: bipolar, borderline, depression, like everything in her, from her own mouth, literally. That's what she said. She thinks she has psychic abilities since she was a child, but then she couldn't see any of the bad things happening. But now she can see all of the things for other people, but just not like
and only
it
for
just
money.
Makes no sense. Only for $5,000. I was like shocked. This is more than Joe Dispenza. This is more than double Joe Dispenza. This is insane.
Yeah. Well, she justifies, because people will say, like, someone like you and I will say, like, well, why are you doing it for money? That's always my question. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't make money, but, if I would want to believe that if I had ability to heal somebody, or ability to like medical medium, for example, who does this and goes, you have brain cancer, I can feel it in my fingertips. Like if I truly had and believe I had that ability, I would not charge for my services. I'm sorry. I would believe in the universe, that the universe would provide for me somehow, and I would just go heal everybody as fast as I could. I would hang out at the hospital and just, as people walked in, just heal them. Why would you not? Like, why would you put yourself in the capitalistic, machine that they all claim to like hate, that they don't like, that there's barriers against them and people don't like that? Why would you charge $5,000 if you really truly had this gift that like the universe has bestowed upon you? Isn't that fucked up? Isn't that even worse to charge $5,000 for it?
And can you charge $5,000 for it and not pay a single person that works for you? Because in her words, people who wanted to learn from me, these were like, this is like not completely in context, obviously, but I just wrote this down. People who wanted to learn from me in exchange for working for me. She didn't pay these people. She doesn't pay them. They just live there. And
room and board, they say, like, oh, that's compensation. It's like, that's a cult, bro. That's what that is. That's very typical in cult communities. That's how, I just finished that one other documentary on Netflix about the FLDS, the Mormon sect that was or is still into polygamy in Utah, and talking about Warren Jeffs, the guy who went to prison over having like wives that were like 12 years old. They would make like they were talking about how they make money in the church. And they would go and like construct buildings and warehouses for like Amazon and Walmart. And they would win these contracts because all of the labor that they were using to make, and these were like full on jobs. These weren't like, an Amish community making a house. Like these are full on large scale projects. The people in the Mormon culture, they will dedicate their life to supporting the cause. So they're getting all this free construction. So now they're able to go and like, underbid like a real, legally working construction company, because they're all working for free. And they're like underage too half the time. They're like teenage boys that aren't even in school that are working at these jobs. And it's crazy that this is allowed to go on in this day and age. That was in like the early 2000s, but still
Yeah.
It's not
It's
unique,
insane.
you know? Yeah.
And another thing that happened, or it's I think in episode 3 or 4, where Jared says, well, he says what he said in the trailer, that he was willing to kill for her, and but he also said that he stopped paying alimony to his kid.
Yeah.
And he told his ex-wife that he didn't have money, but he actually did have money, but he paid Teal. Not only was he working for Teal and in this cult, but also he was paying all of his money to Teal. Like, can you imagine? Like, this is just so insane. Like, I can't even believe this is real. Like, it's so crazy. And she had him tattoo something like, is this even true? When, like, so whenever he would have like a thought that he didn't trust whatever Teal was saying to him, like, she would question him and be like, that's not true, you're just like, you're lying or something. I'm like,
It's like the ultimate gaslight. Like if you have a thought that's like against the current or against like, oh, you know, I think I'm being taken advantage of, that's a limiting belief. Oh, you're just thinking that you're being limited by your own thoughts. Like you should stop thinking that way and not leave the cult. You know, it's like, okay. In the last, my favorite scene, and not favorite because I liked what happened, but the most memorable scene to me was at the end when Blake is leaving and he's going to, you know, he's choosing his wife essentially over Teal. And there's the one woman who's like a part of the group standing next to or watching this interaction go on. And she's got a shirt on that says spread kindness. And it's like a little like, one of those like you blow it like dandelions or whatever, and it's like spread kindness, and she's wearing this shirt while Teal tells her best friend from like childhood that he's a fucking loser and he always will be. And the woman just standing there like,
and she says, remember these words. Like, how could he forget?
The ultimate irony. Like that's the irony that I talk about Rachel Hollis saying choose joy while also saying, you know, the woman cleans my toilets and I'm better than everybody else. Like what? Like, don't you hear the hypocrisy in your voice? I guess the answer is no, but it's like, it's so crazy.
So for those people who didn't watch, essentially, oh gosh, Blake is her ex that has been living with her since 18 years ago when they were a couple. He's been living with her exes, with her ex-husbands, like all of them, they're together. It's a lovely trio for some reason. Then Blake falls in love with this girl Juliana. Juliana is from Germany, and Juliana moves over to the community. When Juliana is there, at first she's like all happy and all that stuff, and then she starts to be like gradually just she starts to distrust it, and basically she's not allowed to see her family, she's not allowed to go to Germany to see her friends. Like she starts to just basically distrust Teal and like the whole thing. And in the end, Teal confronts her, and basically that was just such a horrible scene. Like they were in a circle and she confronts her and she's like, what do you think about me? So Juliana says, oh, I think you're a powerful woman, and you know, and that you have a mission, blah blah blah. And then she starts going around asking everyone, just what do you guys think that she actually thinks? And then they start to say the most horrible things as if she had said them. Like they were literally putting words in her mouth. Like she had not said those things at all. I did not hear her say anything of those things in the whole thing. And granted, they might have been said in footage that was not used, but like, I don't know, just they put her in a circle to essentially shun her and just kick her out of the cult. And he leaves. Blake leaves with her. They live together. So I was so happy that Blake left, honestly.
Me too.
Oh my god. I thought he was gonna stay at first. I was just like, no.
Yeah, I know. That was kind of like you're wishing and hoping, like you're rooting for him to like see the truth. And I don't think he sees the truth. I think he picked his wife over Teal because he felt like, okay, this is a relationship that it's mine. Like, I have some control over. It's more equal than his relationship with Teal, which was always off balanced. So it seems, you know, she can do whatever she wants. She can have 4 or 5 failed marriages. She can have a kid, but you better not get with a woman who's I don't approve of 1000%. It's like, that's so unfair in any relationship dynamic. But the one part that kind of like turned me, well, not, oh, hi, Kitty. The one part that I was surprised about was that when he brought her, the wife, to the compound, and Teal was sitting on the bed, and she's like, so is this it for us? Like, they were kind of like talking about it, and he was like, I still think you're hot as hell or something, or you're fine as hell. Like, what?
Like, she was literally, is this the end of your romantic attraction towards me? And he was like, you're still sexy. And I was like, wait, has he been attracted to her this whole like 2 decades of his life?
Probably.
But also, just Juliana looks so much like her. Like,
like so a blonde version of her. I know. I'm trying to find her. She's at the end, I think. They
look so similar. Like,
That's
the face
together.
is just. But Juliana doesn't have red hair and whatever. Doesn't use makeup. But like, they look so similar. So it's kind of almost like he found a version of Teal.
Yeah, like a sweeter, softer version, perhaps, of Teal. The funny thing is, like, if Teal was like given all these abilities, you know, she's got the Ashtang, or what's it called? The something records. I forget. I'm sorry. There's a thing. It's like something records, like Ashtangic records or something. Ashtakic records, and it's supposed to mean that you have knowledge of everything that's ever happened, all of history and the future, and you have access to these records or whatever. Okay, so obviously that's a huge, you know, I would imagine like point of pride for someone to have been bestowed these, you know, magical gifts. Why would they give her gray hair? If you're going to give someone all the tools and knowledge of all of humanity and the world at large, the universe, why bother with having to dye your hair every month?
Yeah.
Doesn't make it make sense.
Oh, I don't know. It's very
Akashic.
obvious.
That's what it is. Yes, thank you.
How it's very obvious how just kind of full of herself she is. Like, it's just so shocking.
I mean, she's a full-blown. I'm no medical professional, obviously, or mental health professional, but, you know, just from a layman's perspective, she's a full-blown narcissist if I ever saw one before. Like, I don't think, well, I guess you could debate that about what that means, but like, she makes it very clear she cares about herself, she cares about her money, and she cares about being in full control. And maybe that's her like trauma response to whatever happened to her. I don't think what happened to her is what she says happened to her about like the insanity that she claims. And I sent you personally, and I think I might still have it. I found a website that, you know, is journalistic. It's like I forget what the name of the website is, but they collect records on certain things, like about true crime cases. And I looked it up, and they had the Teal Swan Teal Swan police report that we talked about in the last episode, where she was claiming all the things that happened to her in her childhood and that the police were looking into it. And then the guy in Idaho, the reporter, was like, she says she filed a police report, so her claims must be true. Okay, and then they said, like, but the police the case is still open, but nothing's been done on it for years. Okay, so I haven't been able to confirm that the forms that I found were real. They look real, certainly. They look like they were scanned, and they have like the signature and office and all that information from where she filed the report, so she claims. But I haven't actually called and said, like, is this the report? I should do that. But with all that in mind, in the report, she gave all of this information to the cops about, like, what had happened, basically what she told the reporter. And she says, I have journals from when I was a kid proving that this is not just me coming up with this. You know, I've had this for years. But then the cops started going through the journals, and it was written in a language that only Teal could understand. So
Wow. Okay. I did see the journals, and I will say that was kind of a convincing thing because I was like, okay, they looked old. They looked like they were written like years and years and years ago. To do that, to manufacture journals from like years and years ago, it would be like a lot of work. A lot
Well,
of work.
I'm sure the journals are real, but do they contain information with dates and times
Yeah.
and places and, evidence? The cop said no. And then they also said that she claims, and she made the claim on the news as well, that she has all these physical scars, and they took her to a medical facility, according to this police report, and there was none. There was no scarring. There was no
And
physical
she says-
evidence of abuse.
At one point, she says that she told her parents about her abuser, and they they were so, I don't know how she framed it, but they were, as in they were so afraid of losing their identity that they didn't even believe her. Or something. I don't know exactly what words she used, but something along those lines, as if like the parents could not even accept that something like that could have happened from that person. So it made me think in that moment. I'm like, did she this is obviously not to invalidate, but like it did make me think like maybe she manufactured that information. Maybe this was,
It's just so extreme. And then for there, like I said before, for there to be no follow-up by anyone. And then for
and why is the abuser
he's a
being
veterinarian. The guy who she claims that did all this she claims he's a veterinarian from Idaho, I believe.
But that protects his identity so that he
Yes.
can go on and abuse other people. Okay. Because that's exactly what an abused person who's been traumatized would do. Just like
that's the problem.
And I'm not even talking about just any person. I'm talking about like someone who's like pretending to heal the planet, right? Like she would just protect her abuser. That's what she would do.
It doesn't
After
make
years
sense.
and years and years, when she's leading like the planet towards healing and she cares so much about people. Okay, sure.
Honestly, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, just in general with this spirituality and these self-help gurus. Because some people say, and I tend to agree with this, that there's a certain level of personal responsibility involved in getting into a cult or getting into these groups. Like we can sit here all day and say that's abusive or that's manipulative or that's whatever, but at the end of the day, those people who are in the cult, most of them, except minus children, walk into it willingly. Like they're people that are going to see Teal. Teal's not like, taking a rope and bringing people into her compound. People are paying her money, good money, to go and to take these, classes and do these healings and whatever. So at what point do we go, okay, the people paying Teal, in my opinion, as a layman, non-medical professional, is insane. Like, I really think that she has a mental disorder of some kind that's making her think that, these things really happen to her. Because I believe she does think that they happen to her. Because she speaks in such conviction that she's like, this happened for sure. We know timeline doesn't make sense. There is no police report. Where's her family? Like, there's more questions than the truth, probably. It's not as straightforward. But should we hold those people responsible who are basically paying her lifestyle for her to continue to do this? Aren't they sort of hurting her by like someone saying like, yes, somebody could, heal me that has no training, that is like saying all these crazy things, by them coming up with the money to pay her, it actually perpetuates her own like personal delusion, right? Because it's almost confirmation bias. Like, well, people wouldn't pay me if this wasn't true. So the delusion continues because she's getting the social support from people around her.
It's a loop.
So how much of it is her fault, and how much of it is people around her's fault?
I would say it's a lot of her fault.
Both. Balance.
But I'm more on the side of like real advertising, and she's not. So I think the false advertising really bothers me with like how much she can heal. Did you see there's a whole like episode where she's like talking to people who are dead and ghosts through other people's bodies. None of those people are psychic, but somehow they are able to like speak in the voice or like in the feelings of that. Like it was just so like I don't know, very very surreal and very not believable in my opinion. And that sort of stuff, like obviously when you are attached to that person who died or something and you
Yeah.
have some sort of questions around that, like in Amir's case, like his mom had committed suicide. So obviously for a child, for your mom to commit suicide is like a big deal. That's not an most people would be traumatized by that experience. So obviously she is sort of benefiting from that trauma that that guy had, and is like, man, if she literally did a whole sketch where like this girl said that she had something, I don't know, she could remember something from her childhood, and they did a whole sketch where other people were impersonating her parents and she was the child. It was like, what the fuck is going on? Like that is like obviously made up. And if you have some sort of belief that maybe this like otherworldly stuff are real, um then you will probably buy into that, because like when they're like talking about things that are so personal, like your mom
Yeah.
dying, your being abused as a child or something, um and you might potentially believe in like spirituality, in god, in gods, whatever, like other spirits, I don't know, you are likely to believe that. And obviously the people who go to Teal's retreats are people who believe in other things. Like they're not skeptics, they tend to be,
They're
they believe in
predisposed
like
for
a
whatever reason.
second
Yeah.
life and all that stuff. So it was just kind of like a lot to see her use like that guy's mom dying as like a moment to gain a client. Like I don't know, it's a lot.
And I see this one comment. Oh God, it's so big. Sorry.
Nice picture.
Yeah, beautiful. Sorry, I blew it up completely on the screen. I agree. I didn't see this. Well, maybe I did see the video. I've watched a lot of Teal Swan videos now, but I think this is a huge issue with the access to mental health care, and that's something also I've been thinking about a lot. It's like, $5,000 seems like a lot to go to a retreat or and do this stuff, but when you think about the amount of mental health costs that someone who is going through something that they probably will have to deal with their whole life, like a bipolar, like an OCD, like a schizophrenia or something like that, people as a society, we're already, against medication at large, or like it's definitely frowned upon still. There is still a stigma against mental health care. Like, well, people who need it should go, but I don't need it because I'm normal. There's a lot of that already. So when we look at that and you go, how hard it is to take care of these issues, or if you're feeling like, she talks a lot about unaliving yourself, feelings. I mean, that's comes up for a lot of people, including myself from time to time. Like, if you don't want to go and spend the time and the effort and the money and all the hoops and hurdles you got to get through to get good mental health care, this type of content does seem appealing. And I don't want to, shame anyone for believing something because they don't have access to the alternative. Like, if you had good, solid, free mental health care in this country, then I could be like, well, this is on you, buddy, for going to this thing instead of seeking out a therapist. But really, I mean, at least in this country, it's not always available. Teal is available at your fingertips. You can talk to her. You can join a group. You can listen to her for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. She's there for you. The mental health care, what do you call it? The mental health industry is not always. So I think that's a fair point to say, like, yes, there's some personal responsibility, but also there needs to be a good alternative, and that just does not exist currently.
But
in this
it was
structure.
very interesting at one point, because there was a person, Sabrina, who literally called her out on her bullshit. She was like, my life is worse now. and she had cut off her parents, and basically she goes to Teal's retreat. Her life becomes worse. She comes back. She tells her, "My life is worse now." And Teal says, "No, your life is better." And Sabrina basically says, "No, this is literal bullshit." Like she will use the word bullshit. She called her out in like an entire group. And then there was a scene after, her, after she had left, after all the people have the clients, I guess, I guess we call them that. After the
Sure.
clients left, they were talking, and Teal was so mad, and she was like, "I don't know what to do." So I think I wrote it somewhere. But oh yeah, she said, "I don't understand how to work with a person like that." And it's like, yes, because you're not trained. You don't know how to work with a person. You don't know. You are not trained. Like, I think, at least with normal, like, a mental health professional at least will have like some sort of
Resources.
training. They would have some sort of resources. They might have a supervisor. Like, if they come across a situation that they don't know how to handle, first of all, they will not spend like weeks with that person, like day on,
They won't be living in their
24 hours
house.
a day living there with
Yeah.
them and stuff like that. And they will just probably have like one session a week or something. But in the meantime, they have options. They know where to, like, they could probably ask their boss, like, how do I handle this? Maybe just move it to someone else who's better prepared, maybe, like, whatever. That person is also potentially, like, if anything happens, that person can also be held responsible. They can be held accountable
Lose their
by the law.
license. Yeah.
Yeah, like they can be sued for malpractice. There's a lot to lose if you're like an actual trained professional, and not a lot to lose for Teal, who doesn't even know how to handle it. And it's
What does she
very
care? She made that clear too when she was talking about, they were talking kind of like as a team about that client. And that's where I remember what was her name? Do you remember her name? The wife, the one that left with Blake?
Juliana.
Juliana. That's what I think when she was starting to get upset, because she's like, this is not just, who cares? Because she was telling the other employees or volunteers that she was going to go back to New York and kill herself. And so Juliana was like bringing this up to Teal, like, hey, this is kind of past the point of, not concerning. This is like a big deal. And the only thing Teal cared about is like, my image might be affected by this because I don't want to deal with it. Like, people are going to accuse me then of like killing her when it's not even true. So she didn't care about this girl that was suffering and going through like this whole traumatic experience while, under her care. And I say that very lightly. She only cared about what the repercussions for Teal might be. And so I think that's the scene that I started to see where Juliana started to go like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm signed up for here, because if this girl goes home and kills herself, like, I feel responsible. Like, she felt some responsibility for that. Teal felt none, apparently.
Yeah, and Juliana saying that, literally Teal's response was like, "You just crossed the boundary."
Yeah.
Like,
don't tell me,
how dare you
Yeah.
tell me that what I'm doing is not right. But man, it's just shocking just how people believe her. Like, it's very, I don't know, I don't understand. Like, people really just, even the people in her inner circle that see her as like this bitch, literally, they still believe her. I don't understand. Like, it's very, it's mesmerizing just to watch, because at the end, there was a scene where they were like, she was literally asking them like, how do we deal with like the bad publicity or something like that. And they were like, oh, no, sorry, well, I think it was in that same conversation, but yeah, she essentially said that I need to create contracts for you. And they started to come up with ideas and be like, because she said, what happens like if you get a boyfriend or a husband and they don't agree with just that's because like Juliana and Blake had left. So
Yeah.
so people literally in her inner circle started to come up with idea, being like, it's our responsibility to like put pressure on them to accept it. Literally, one of them, Gracie, said, it's our responsibility to put pressure on the partner to accept it. Like, what?
Well, then Teal can say, I didn't come up with that. You came up with that. You came up with that idea. But they know it's almost like a child. Like, and this is something my therapist tells me all the time. It's like, 90% of, and I don't think she really means it like statistically, but she's like, 90% of all communication is done non-verbally. So as a kid, your mom might not tell you something directly, but like her scolding, her face, her like not interested in listening or whatever might tell you like, okay, I need to act a certain way to get attention or whatever. I think the same thing is happening for Teal. She's not telling these people directly like, you cannot leave, but if you ever suggest anything of the sort, she's gonna like snub you. She's gonna be bitchy to you about other things so that you get the hint like, oh, I brought up having a boyfriend, now she's not looking at me, she's giving me the cold shoulder, I know that I need to dump this boyfriend. And so then she can remain clean and pure of, being a cult leader, even though I think that's what it is.
And it's very interesting that she hired a private investigator to prove that she's not a cult leader. It's like, what? It's like me being like, I need to hire a private investigator to prove that I'm not a YouTuber. And the private investigator goes like, youtube.com, Camellia finds like hundreds of videos. And they're like, well, what about this? And I would be like, no.
I just post on YouTube. I'm not a YouTuber. Like, define YouTuber. What does it mean?
This person just crossed all my boundaries. Like, that was not a pleasant experience to have a conversation with this person for me. Yeah. How do you guys think we should move forward in a way that we minimize the bad publicity? Imagine, that's just so, because like, if you are not a cult leader, if you're not running a cult, that would be the last of your concerns, to like try to prove the world that you're not a cult. Like, what?
Yeah.
And
well, her idea of a cult, sorry, go ahead, continue. I'll tell my thought after.
Because I was gonna say that what she wanted to do is to plant a story. It was to find a private investigator that was corrupt, that would plant a story about how, because that was the initial thing. I heard something like they wanted to get like a third party article somewhere that was like had nothing to gain from like being on Teal's side, and they would just like prove that she's not a cult leader. So they wanted someone corrupt to show the world that they are not. But unfortunately, and I can see why they went to this person, because she seemed like this like kind of older lady and whatever, and they thought they could manipulate her. But this woman was like a badass. I loved her. She was just fantastic. I
thought she was gonna give in, because she was, first of all, her money is coming from Teal Swan, the company. So you're already, even if you're saying that you're a third party and whatever, there already is that level of, well, my money, like I need to get paid for this.
No, because that's the thing, that she's not a third party. She's definitely not. She's like on Teal's side, hired by Teal, paid by Teal. So
so she can say she's like, I'm unbiased, but it's all right. The bias is there whether you say it is or not, So I was like, this is going to be a disaster. And the way she asked questions, she was like, oh, okay.
You definitely think that at first. You're like, oh shit, okay. But it's definitely like, I think that's what they wanted. They wanted someone who would just be on their side, paid by them, but would be able to like somehow through corrupt means get like a third party article somewhere, like, because she could never be like, I was the private investigator paid by her, and this is that's not a third party. So they would have had to like do some things, like pay some people, like, or bribe. I don't know.
I don't even think so. I think, no, I don't even, well, maybe. I can't, I'm not an authority, obviously, but like, I think when an MLM does a study and says like, Monet is the #1 beauty brand according to beauty.com. There's nothing, at least in America, that I know that specifies that you must say, well, this study was paid for, funded by Monet itself. That comes out all the time. Yeah, that happens all the time. That's like, they'll make councils here, like it'll be like the Heart Council, right? The Heart Council is 99% funded. And I'm not saying this is a real thing. I'm saying hypothetically, this is a scenario that could happen. The Heart Council is 100% paid for by the beef industry or something, or like Cheerios, basically funds. Now they hire people third party independently. They're not telling them what to do or what to say, but all of their funding comes from the company. Okay, so there's that bias there. That's like, if you want to continue your job and you like working here and we treat you well, you better skew the data so that it looks great. And what we're going for is that this Heart Council tells us, tells our customers that we approve, even though we're paying for it. And so I think she was hoping that this lady was dumb or just would go along with it because Teal's the one who hired her. Hey, like, wink, wink, we're not a cult. Just prove that somehow.
Yeah.
And I don't think
It's
she posted the article and that would have been it.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you,
it's
Kim.
like a billionaire donating I don't know how much money to Harvard, and then their son suddenly getting in.
Wink, wink. Yeah.
Wink,
exactly.
wink. Totally had nothing to do with like
unrelated.
It was just a donation for the library because I believe in education. My son not getting in really wouldn't have bothered me at all. I mean, I might have retracted my money, but that would not be related at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that happens a lot in every industry, like nepotism. Like, my son is just going to work here. Like, oh, okay, he's unqualified, but we're all just going to accept it because what are we going to do? And like, that happens so often. But so I was surprised and pleasantly surprised that the investigator seemed to have some ethical compass that she was following.
No,
during this.
She did. And not only did she have it, but she said it to her. She didn't like, I wonder if that had, I mean, probably not, but I wonder if like the fact that there was a documentary being filmed and they went and filmed with her as well, that made her be like, oh, okay, maybe my image is also at stake. So if I just like don't do a good job, maybe I'm not going to get hired.
By other people.
By
if
other
I'm
people,
just totally
people will
biased.
see me on TV, and So
that always plays
I
a factor
think-
too. Like, being watched even in a study can skew the results. So yeah, I think being filmed could also skew your performance at work.
That is a factor, but I do think that she is just a lovely person, and I think she probably would have come up with the same conclusion, but maybe in the end she would have tried to, had it not been for like documentaries and whatever, maybe she would
Skew
just be a bit more. No, I don't think she would have done it, but I think maybe she would have been a bit softer, like in her delivery, as to not upset them or something. But this time she was just like, whatever. I loved her. She was such a badass, honestly.
Well, the fact that they had it in writing about like, number one, do not see your friends and family again was like, okay.
The non-negotiables, like, Jesus.
Oh.
And she was like, I think they sent me this by mistake. I can't believe they even sent it to me. Like,
yeah. I think, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate again, I guess, with the Teal thing, because if my prediction that she actually does have like a diagnosable mental disorder of some kind, like to have these grandiose feelings about herself, but also to have these like, beliefs about what she went through as a child, her idea of what a cult is, from what she describes as her childhood, is like satanic devil worship with babies being killed, migrant farm workers, their children being taken away from them, secretly being, sexually assaulted, being murdered in front of her, being sewn up into corpses. Like, there's these people that walk around that just have this demented, worldview, and that they live among us, and that it's all a secret. It's very similar to like a lot of these more extreme political views that have been popping up recently with like the cabal and the children drinking blood and all this stuff. Like, it seems so ridiculous, but you got to imagine if this person truly believes that, that's what they think a cult is. What she's got is like, oh, this is just a group, no big deal. But in reality, the cult is what she is doing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's
I think
not
you're
this like
giving her
fake thing.
You're giving her too much credit. I think she knows. I think she's just trying to make other people not realize that she's actually like a cult leader. But I think she is very well aware.
Yeah. Well, she always says like, I could be a cult leader, but I'm not. I choose not to be. It's like, but you're already in it. It's not like there's a separate, like, there's not like a directory that you have to join, like the cult, cult 101. Here's our number. Call us up.
The Cult Leader Association.
Yeah, the cult leaders of America. There's no official thing that she's got to do and sign up for. So
the Guild of Cult Leaders.
Yeah, for her to say like,
and they would
am
have
not
like
one.
They would have like yearly Oscars and like get an award for being a good cult leader.
Yeah, best transformation using drowning goes to Teal Swan, everybody.
Oh my God.
Woo!
Jesus, that scene. They tried to drown Sabrina. Like, I watched that and I'm like, this is torture. They're torturing Sabrina for having like disagreed with her. And they're making it sound like this is just like how you're going to get healed by us trying to drown you. Like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ. Honestly, that's what torture is. Like putting someone
like
through something
somebody.
like that.
It reminded me a lot of the breathwork stuff that, I see a lot. It's like it's a physical reaction that forces you to have an emotional reaction. And people, and including myself, I'm not going to say people, unlike me, I'm so smart. I never fell for it because I totally fell for it too. Where you feel like, oh my God, I've never felt something like that before. It was a very touching, dramatic moment in my life when I was doing breath work and started to cry. Like I had never felt that way before. In reality, looking back, it was like I was like oxygen deprivated, gasping for air, and I probably felt like my body was probably feeling like it was dying. So when I actually got to breathe correctly, it was like, wow, I feel so good. I feel so thankful to have this breath, and
you're just relieved that you survived.
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, like what a cathartic experience, but it's only temporary, number one. And number two, it didn't really solve anything. It just brought all this shit to the surface. And then like these people who are helping me, healing me are like, 25-year-olds that have never done any sort of training. So it's like, okay, see you next week. It's like, I don't know. Anyways, that's kind of my own personal anecdote, but similar to this, I would imagine feeling.
It's a bit like trauma porn, essentially. Just let's go back to your most traumatic experience, most traumatic memory, whatever. If you don't have one, we'll just plant one in there. Don't worry. And then once you start crying because you're being traumatized, we will just tell everyone that you are healed. It's like, no. Oh, and this was an important point that they made in the documentary, that people were saying, people who had left the cult and all that stuff, they said that in the meantime, when they would have a retreat, these things would happen, and then they would go out back into the world, whatever, they would be way worse. And then they would come back, they would have this like sort of amazing experience again, they would go back and they would be worse again, because obviously they are being re-traumatized every single time. And I just found that to be like, that's the thing, that's why I think therapists would take it super slow. They would take it really slow because they don't want to re-traumatize you. They just want you to like have a different outlook on some things that were like super bad, that have traumatized you, in order for you to be able to cope better. So they would take it slow. That's why it takes so long. That's why they don't do it in a week like this. And that's why it works, because you're actually just slowly over time rethinking what happened with a different lens. And you don't do that when you go to a retreat and in 1 week you're being re-traumatized and they're doing sketches about your abusive family in the background.
Yeah. With a bunch of people who aren't getting paid to be there, that are like living off of, their doing those things, like that is their entire time and their livelihood. That is their entire world. If they get cut off from living there, they have no place to go. So it's like they better do what Teal says, facilitate these things the way that she wants, or else they're out. Their incentive is clear, like make these people have a reaction of some sort, and then whatever happens after that's not their business. It's what it's the vibe that I get. But it's sad, and I feel for the people that go to these things because I feel like I was on a path to be that person. And I guess that's why I get kind of like sensitive about it, because I'm like, damn, like that could have been me. Like I could have been sitting there. I was definitely on the path to do that. And thankfully, like I got into therapy and now have my views now. But not everyone's as lucky. The only reason I have even an opportunity for that is because I have a fiance that's willing to help me, you know, and while I was not working because I got laid off during the pandemic, he had an income. So I have a very good, you know, outcome from what happened, but I could have easily not had that outcome and I would be on this fucking documentary drowning, you know?
Yeah.
So it scares me because I think like, oh, I'm so smart. It's like, not really. Like this is knowledge that I've gained in the last like little bit and I'm still susceptible, and everyone's susceptible, especially when you have trauma.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't think even it is about being smart or having knowledge or anything. I think because they target people, it's very clear. Like literally, Teal goes on stage and she asks, like, how many of you don't want to be here and think there's no hope? And everyone raises their hand. She knows she's targeting people who are in such a vulnerable position that they're willing to try absolutely anything.
Sure.
That they're and she will say some stuff like, you know, that is validating to anyone who has I literally I was listening and I'm like, yeah, I could probably say those things too. Like if I was a bitch and if I was someone with no ethics and somebody like comes to me with that trauma, I could probably like just interrogate them about the trauma and I could probably be like, yeah, I think it's because of your fucked up father, or like, you know, and 50% of the time I might be right, you know, because like if they had one parent who was like, you know, you go like, okay, this is the father, I feel it, it's being downloaded into my brain, like 50% of the time it could be right, and the other 50% of the time I notice what they do is they're like, well, I got some downloads about your brother being abused, and one of the girls was like, oh my god, like literally
I didn't
that
know
was
he
bullshit.
was. I didn't know he was. And it's like, yeah, because he
They
probably
lied
wasn't.
to
Or you
her.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't
They
know
created
anything.
a fucking sketch out of her trauma, and then she probably left that thing being like, oh my god, my brother has also been abused by my father. Like she just like, this was complete BS. Like I just, oh my god, I got so mad seeing that scene because that girl, like literally that didn't happen. Like that was completely made up on the spot, and literally they traumatized that person with that information.
Yeah, because now it's like, I'm not saying parents are perfect. I, you know, barely speak to my parents. So, you know, I'm not the one that's like, your parents are always right. However, can you imagine trying to have a conversation with your parent after someone says like, oh, your mom abused you in this way, your dad abused your brother? Like there is like way less hope for reconciliation after something like that. And if it's not even true, but then if you say, well, of course you're going to say it's not true. That's what every liar abuser says. It's like, okay, so that interaction with Teal may have just severed any chance of them having any sort of like reconciliation or coming together, because how can they even get their point across? Like that didn't happen. It's like that never happened, daughter, son. And it's like, no, well, Teal felt it, and she has, you know, she never like one girl, I think it was the one that that we were just talking about, I forget her name now, but she was saying like, well, she's psychic, so that's how she knew whatever. And I was like, no, that's like she's psychic, so that's how she knew. It's like, god, that you're already off to the races by that point. If you believe this person is psychic, then you're gonna believe everything, because it's like, well, they're absolute truth. So if she's saying my dad abused my brother, well, it must be true because she's psychic. It's like, oof, you're in for a world of pain with that mentality.
And that's the sort of stuff where it's like, not even, that was so past the line, by the way, like, because that's not even just like, you tell me what's your experience. That's like, no, I'm just gonna like make something up to traumatize you right now so that you feel like you're like discovering yourself and remembering, when in fact I just made this up and pretended like this is coming from like another dimension through my brain. Yeah. It was just so predatory and like, I don't know. Oh my god, we're gonna get demonetized for sure. Sorry about that.
Sorry, everybody. I'll have to watch. I see a lot of people talking about the Mormon stories. I haven't watched it or listened to it at all, those. And so I need to listen because they're saying that there's like a childhood friend of Teal. And I've heard about this person before that's basically saying like it's all bullshit, that what she says.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about it. But I haven't had time, sorry. But I'm
Same.
going back to being a reliable person. I no longer have exams. So
You're
no more
reliable.
excuses.
More excuses. Do you want to watch a little bit of her reaction to the episodes? They're fairly short.
Okay. Yeah.
This
I
is
wanna
her talking
see.
about episode 1. So episode 1 was fairly benign. It was kind of like the setup to it all. I mean, not benign totally. There was like a lot of like screaming and stuff, but I think it got worse as time went on.
Oh, yeah.
But this is when she's responding to episode 1.
Hi there, everyone. So what everyone wants to know today is, what do I think about the first episode of the Deep End series on Hulu? So here I am, unedited, and I'm going to tell you what I think so far. First, I want you to remember that you're watching a TV show that was done about me, that I did not get any payment for, and that I have no control over. And one of the most vulnerable and nerve-wracking things in the world is watching someone else's portrayal of you and your life. First, let's start with the positives. Visually, it's beautiful, high quality, and cinematic. I loved the positive testimonials from fans, supporters, and people who understand me and my vision for the change that is needed in this world. This shows that what I am doing has really had a positive and deep impact on so many people. And that means everything to me. It is what keeps me going every day. This episode made it very clear that I am about the truth. I think viewers will get a very clear idea that myself, as well as those who follow my material, are about very deep, raw, real, honest stuff. Quite frankly, a lot of you are sick of the pretense and are looking for something very real. It is clear that I'm not just going to tell someone something that makes them feel good, when it is clear that doing so will not help them to recognize and break free from destructive patterns. And for people who are not ready for that kind.
Do you know what this sounds like? This sounds like a very a parent that is super strict and be like, I'm preparing you by being so mean to you. I'm preparing you for the real world because the real world is so mean. This is what this sounds like. It's like, yeah, but you're actually just making it worse. Like the world, you might be right and the world might be super, super bad, but you don't need to just make it worse.
Yeah, usually that's a projection too. Like a parent who's had bad parents go, well, I'm preparing you for a world of, mistreatment. And it's like, yeah, because that's what you experienced. So now you're trying to like prepare somebody, but you don't realize you're probably in control of making that person have a good experience in the world. But I don't know. Yeah. What she's saying, I don't disagree with really so far. Like, yeah, I think people who just tell you, oh, just believe and it'll happen. Like, I don't like that type of content either. I'm down to talk about real shit. However, that's where my agreement ends, because what she actually tells you is her own belief and made up bullshit too. It's just a little bit meaner. So I'm not into that whatsoever.
Yeah, and I love that she's leading with, I did not get paid for this.
Then why'd you do it, dumbass?
No, it's normal that people don't get paid for documentaries. But
yeah, but why would she do it? Like, she's acting like she was,
but like, I don't understand
it.
why that's the leading thought. Like, you have to remember, I did not get paid for this. It's like, okay, but that doesn't make it false. Like, if you got paid, that wouldn't make it true. Like, I don't know. What's the relevance that you didn't get money? Sympathy. There is no relevance. It's just that she is like bitter about it.
Yeah.
She wanted to be paid and she didn't get paid. She's bitter about it.
I want my money. I want that bag. And now all I got is a negative portrayal. Pfft, I regret everything. I think she knew like she would get exposure, and the people, like you said, the people that she wants to attract are going to be attracted to her regardless of what she does. So it's worth it to get more people in the door than the people who are never going to like her are still going to not like her.
And she even says at one point that, like, if a singer or something is like a bitch, nobody cares because they come for the music. It's like, yeah, that's what you're trying to do.
But you don't have to be a bitch, I guess.
But no, but then she frames it like, but in my career, everyone cares. It's like, yeah, no, you're still a bitch. You're exactly like the singer that you just described.
Yeah.
She's such a bitch by the end. Like, I was so shocked. I'm like, this woman doesn't have a filter. Like, how is like everyone so like enamored? Like, she's literally. I'm gonna
And
get so
she's-
bad. The
Yeah.
stuff she said to Blake really bothered me. Like the guy like says like hugs her because he's leaving the cult. He hugs her, he says goodbye. He says, I love you. And she's like, yeah, you're a weak man. Don't forget these words. Bye bye.
Well, she knew that would hurt him, you know? And she's like, and the thing is though, it's a very narcissistic, again, like non-diagnostic way to say narcissistic, but like, you know, him leaving is all about how she feels about it. It's not about him, the good things about him going and trying something new. It's not about him exploring, you know, the world at large, him having a wife, him
It's
doing
not
it. No.
Yeah. It's not about him sticking by his wife, which she's kicking
she
out
hates.
of the cult.
Yeah. She's like,
what
oh,
did you
he
expect,
betrayed
Teal?
me.
She really, I think she genuinely thought that she had that much control over him. I think she was really pissed that like another woman had, like he had another attachment towards another woman that was stronger than the one he had for her. Because I think she was really deluded to the point where she thought that he was under her like
Spell
hold
forever.
Yeah.
I mean, with good reason. I mean, he lived with her despite, you know, falling in love allegedly with like other men and doing it. So it makes sense, like why she would think that, you know, like,
Yeah,
oh,
but
well.
he had not fallen in love throughout all of these years. This was the first time, and he was so like, "Oh, I'm done with non-commitment and stuff." So I think he might have had some relationships, but I think he was in love
Can
with
you
her.
imagine?
I think.
Can you imagine that Tinder profile? Like, looking for a woman into
Join
spirituality
my cult.
must be okay with cultic behavior, and I
Must
also
be okay
live with
with
my
me being in
ex-girlfriend.
love. Must be okay with me being in love with my ex, who is a cult leader.
NBD. We're gonna live in Utah.
Must
Also.
look like my ex.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird. Okay. Can
Yeah.
we continue?
Should we like watch?
Kinda.
Let's watch the last ones because this one is kind of like boring.
Boring. Okay.
But the last ones, I'm assuming she would have a stronger reaction to because they were not like portraying her in a good light in the last two episodes. Yeah, look at that disclaimer.
I like I should got a disclaimer now. This is not medical
Oh.
advice.
This is interesting, by the way, because this reminds me. I wrote down this as well. She is like doing alternative medicine there too, like with like frog poison at one point. She's putting frog poison on like her pal's like leg, and then eventually she's like, release it, and the pal starts to vomit because probably the poison is attacking her, and she's like, done, you've released the trauma.
You're good now. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
ayahuasca.
she didn't release
I mean,
anything.
Yeah.
She just poisoned her.
It feels so good. It's like drinking alcohol or doing drugs or whatever. In the moment while you're doing them, it feels amazing. Like if you were to ask someone like high on, you know, an opiate, they're like, yeah, no, I feel good. It's not the during it, it's afterwards where it's like, well, now what do I do? Well, I might as well fill my time with more opiates because like that felt good. And then you're down again, you're down, you know, the path of destruction. Same with all this shit. It's like, feels good to go to the retreat. What do you do afterwards? Well, go to more retreats until you're sucked dry of money and, you know, all of your friends. And
until you can't handle it anymore because of apparently like the rest of the year after retreat, you're going to be fucked. You're going to be traumatized and fucked. So enjoy.
Yeah. I like her hair too. I mean, that's the hair thing. It's funny that she uses box dye. It's so interesting to me.
Oh, I don't
know why. That's like I'm getting hung up. Like you're Jesus Christ, but you're gonna box dye your hair. Like Garnier Fructis is Jesus's
and she had
hair
like
color of
Blake,
choice.
She had
Do
Blake
it.
do it.
Did you notice that
for
scene
you.
where she does it after he left? She does it herself.
I think they did a great job in like looping it back. I loved it.
I liked it. I was like, damn, now she's got to. And that is how I used to do my mom's hair. I used to do her roots. It's hard because like when you have to do it yourself. I mean, I've never done it myself, but like she would always miss like huge patches. So it was much easier to have me do it for her. So kind of symbolic. Like, damn, you shouldn't fuck over your friends.
Yeah, no, they really did such a good job with the documentary. Honestly, like, oh, what a good team, a good company.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I'm very impressed by the details and the editing too.
Yeah.
But let's see what Teal has to say about it. Well, here's what we think.
She's not impressed, I'll tell you that.
Hi there. Well, I just watched episode 4 and just, wow. If you were watching that thinking, this is insane, how is this even possible? Guess what? It was insane. And guess what? It isn't possible. Because what they showed didn't happen. Honestly, I cannot even believe this kind of misrepresentation and deception is allowed. Taking conversations about one thing at one time during one day and splicing it together with another conversation at another time from another day, even dubbing my voice when I wasn't even in the room, editing people into the room who weren't even there, changing facts, completely changing timelines. It's like taking a piece of a puzzle, each piece showing something that is true, that actually happened, but then reassembling the pieces to show a different picture of something that isn't real. That is what the filmmakers did here with the power of editing. They filmed real events and then cut them up, taking bits from different events and then putting them back together to tell a story that didn't happen.
You think it was a live stream?
This is pure, dark-hearted entertainment. A scripted drama by filmmakers masquerading as documentarians. I'll give them this. They fooled me. Coming over to my house for Christmas without cameras just to hang out, playing games into the night, asking me for help with their struggles and their personal lives.
I don't believe
Countless hours of deep, intimate conversation, them applying and practicing my techniques and processes on themselves. Planning birthdays together. Exchanging gifts.
I don't believe that. She feels betrayed,
sure they were just... Yeah, I'm sure that they were just like drowning themselves after meeting Teal, just going through a good experience.
Yeah. Keep the camera out of the water. Hold on.
Oh my God, my techniques, my precious, precious techniques. I'm sure you're trying them with their families and kids. Like, sure. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing.
I believe they had Christmas dinner or whatever. You know, I think that's probably true. Or had like birthday exchange, someone got her a gift for their birthday. If they're spending a year together, you know, I think that's fine. I don't believe the other shit that she's saying. Like, oh, you know, they're using my techniques. They asked me about their problems. Like,
but
that
even
would be
if they
ethically
did
weird.
Spend Christmas with her or something, I still don't understand. Like, does that mean that they need to like agree with her? Like, they cannot have a different opinion? You can only speak or spend any time with anyone that you just completely 100% agree with? Because
yes, that's a non-negotiable.
And
to
clearly
get into
these
Christmas
people
dinner,
are
you gotta
not
sign
in
the form.
Yeah, they're not in the cult, so they can disagree.
Apparently.
It's fine.
Yeah,
she's mad in this one. She's so mad.
Oh, she's pissed. Yeah, she's been betrayed by everybody. How come people just don't understand how perfect she is and helpful she wants to be? God, idiots. Yeah.
She did, and by the way, she didn't get fooled. They told her we're doing a documentary. She thought, ooh, perfect. It's gonna be a commercial for me. It wasn't a commercial. It was an actual documentary, which is what they said that they were doing. And that's what she doesn't like, because she didn't want a documentary. She wanted a commercial.
Yeah.
This is what she's pissed about. They didn't fool her. They literally just did their best with what... I mean, I just don't think that she would ever come on board and be like, yeah, you know, I am kind of a bitch, and, you know, I did all these, like, problematic things, and I am a cult. Like, she was not going to come and say these things. So,
She's got to create her own reality is what it is. That everyone's
still
jealous
needs
of
to-
her. Everyone just wants to be her. Everyone's
damage
jealous
control.
of the power. Yeah. And maybe she does, and I'll give her devil's advocate. Maybe she does believe all these things, but because she's so toxically, like, narcissistic, she's just, anything. It's basically like, okay, no matter what, this is the truth. And the truth is, I'm right. So any thought you have in your head, you just find ways to justify it. Well, this person's saying I'm wrong, so they must be jealous. They must be trying to trick me. They must be trying to whatever, fool me, whatever. because her bottom line is she's always right all the time, 100% of the time. She can't be wrong. So anything that's portrayed of her wrong is not her.
She needs to keep her audience, or whatever is left of them. She's aware that right now this is a PR disaster.
Maybe though. I think it's not really. I think she's going to continue. She probably got, a million new people on her website were talking about her. People are talking about her.
No,
and now
I know,
it's gonna
but
pop up.
I don't believe in bad publicity is good publicity. Like,
I do.
No, it's not. Look at Rachel Hollis. Like, look at the views she gets now. She got bad publicity, and it just ruined her career. I don't think
if she would have doubled down though, if Rachel Hollis wouldn't have if she would have stuck to her guns and go, no, cleaning women do clean the toilets and I'm a boss babe, she would have kept her people, I think. But because she tried to like appeal to everyone and it really appeals to no one, like they say, I think that's what screwed her over. I think Teal, she ain't gonna back down, so I think the people who are gonna like her are gonna like her regardless, and we're gonna stick by her. I think that's just my take. I don't know.
I don't think it would have worked for Rachel either, because I think she tried to do that with Maya Angelou. Be like, I had no fault, and we just fired someone from the team who made a disgusting mistake, and it didn't, like, people were not impressed. I don't think they can. I think once people can see like a different version of it, like, you can be under a spell. Like we were with Rachel.
Yeah.
Like probably everyone watching here was under that spell.
That's the gateway drug that everyone starts with in self-help is Rachel Hollis content.
And then when something like happens that just goes, you go like, ooh, hold on. That's it. And I think this is happening now because obviously, and this is a there's no, more convincing piece than just like a 4-part series that shows things that are super problematic. I really do believe that bad publicity is bad. I'm telling you, she's losing people because these people, most times they would not have a lot of,
now she's a martyr. Now she's a martyr for the cause, though, too. Like, oh my God, mainstream media just wants to make her look stupid. Oh, see, like, we need this alternative spirituality, Gaia, like, content.
But
this is why.
People saw her, like, with these people, with the filmmakers for like a year. They became, like, can you imagine, like, everyone saw these people around, like, filming and whatever. They're not, like, nobodies. Like, they probably had chats, they probably had the smoke together, they probably, like, so it's not really like, she can go around and be like, yeah, they said this about me and they were lying and blah blah blah. But those people probably like did connect to some level with the filmmakers, with the videographers, whatever. So they are like, well, I don't know, I like that guy, I felt like he was kind of like,
I think they probably would be like, oh, it sucks. I liked that guy. It sucks that he turned out to be like, a blood-sucking succubus. That's a disappointment. I thought he was cool.
Yeah, but that's what
they would react.
Trying to do. This is what she's trying to do for sure. I think, and I think it will work for some, but I think they will still be left with a bit like, I don't know. They kind of are right.
Maybe. I see your point, and I can understand it, but I still think when it comes to this type of like, and someone said the Kardashians are a good example. I agree too. Like, people hate them every time. Like, Kim saying like, if you don't want to work, get off your ass and work, bitch. Like, okay, she can say that, and people still buy their shit. And it's like, there is a certain level of no matter, like, eyeballs are better than nothing. I don't know. I just think that the people who are desperate are going to think like she's even more of a reason to go because look at people are like disrespecting her. I'm going to support her 3 times as much now.
I think with the Kardashians though, I agree that they have that, but what they sell is mostly, first of all, they're hired by like TV shows. They're paid by TV shows. So we personally are not really like, aside from what we're buying from them, it's like what makeup, like Skims and stuff like, and they had some scammy businesses too. So I'm well aware, but
Kimojis.
When you're buying like makeup from them, they are pretty. Like, you're not, it's not, it's a scam in the sense that they don't use that makeup. They have like a makeup artist that uses completely different products. But you know, when if I don't know, if I was like to sell a thing for like curly hair, I can convince you. Like my hair is curly. If you were to sell that, you probably would struggle. You'd be like,
how dare you?
look at my curly hair that looks completely straight.
It's
you know
curled
what I
on
mean?
the inside, okay? I'm curly on
So
the
I
inside.
feel like to some extent I can see why the Kardashians are still succeeding despite the outrage, because the outrage is just getting them more like known in the world. But then they sell you something that they look good in, like they will sell you the Skims and they do look good physically, so they'll be like, okay, you know, I kind of get it, like you're buying into like the image, but do you know what I mean? But with her, it's like they attacked her credibility as the thing that she's selling. Like what she's selling is therapy. Like the therapy is bullshit. You know?
I don't know. We'll have to see. I guess we'll have to watch and see. Because I think she's still touring and she's still making content. So gotta watch the numbers. Like, let's see. Like, she's made a couple of videos recently, and this is her as a content creator. We're judging right now, basically. It's got 40,000. I mean, she's got stuff. The Hiroshima one's got like 10 million views. So maybe she's on a downward spiral, but she also has a private, you know, YouTube or a private website where she sells her content. So I have no idea how many people watch that or subscribe to that or whatever. So who knows?
No. Oh, sorry. I said it in Romanian. Yes, I meant to say. No, I know why you're saying this, and I agree that there is a possibility of that, but I think that just it's very a reputation. She is not wrong. Her reputation does matter, you know, because she's selling things that are super expensive. And by the way, it's another thing with the Kardashians. They're not selling you things that are like $5,000. They're like, you know, the makeup, it might be trash, but I'm paying 30 quid on it. Or like, I'm not going to be that affected if the makeup turns out to be trash as someone who has just paid $5,000 and they find out that she's a total scam. Like, it's like it's a different level of involvement.
Yeah, but like the thing is, it's like she's not claiming to be a registered therapist and you show up and she's not. She's claiming to be this like crazy healer, you know, genius. So it's like when people tell me they're like, not a long time ago, a couple years ago when I first started YouTube, people were like, oh, you got to cover this woman who does scam tarot card readings. I'm like, what do you mean a scam tarot card reading? Like, the whole thing's a scam, you know? I don't know. And I know people are like, oh my God, how dare you? You named your cat after tarot cards, which I did. But like, I could do tarot and just make something up. And is that a scam? No, it's the girl because she was like not delivering. I don't know. And they were saying that there was a scam. I'm like, it's very hard to prove what's a scam when it comes to like, okay, if you read your horoscope and you're like, this is not what Geminis would feel in this moment. This is a scam. It's like, yeah, but it's all just subjective to what you want it to mean anyways. It's not. So she's not claiming to be a therapist who's unlicensed. Like, she's just claiming to like heal you with whatever. So it's up to your interpretation if you're healed or not, I guess. So I think for her, like having anybody know her name is better than no one knowing her name. Personally, I don't know.
I think people seeing the situation with Juliana and just kind of putting her on the spot and kicking her out of the cult and stuff like that is kind of like an emotional thing, especially because you kind of get attached to Blake and you get attached to her. You can tell, I think, from the beginning that Juliana is like not fully bought into this, and you kind of hope for her. I mean, as like us, sort of like the critics, we're like, okay, we hope that she's gonna get out. But I think that people who are like into Teal Swan, they would be like, I hope she gets in. I hope she's like fully like accepted and stuff like that. And then she's not. So people will see themselves in her. They'll be like, oh, I could go there and I could get kicked out and I could be called all these things. And then potentially my boyfriend would stay and not come with me.
See, I disagree. And maybe it's because I have that like the old mentality. I'm like, no, I'm better than her. I'm going to prove that I'm better and different than her, and I will make it, and I will prove to Swan that I'm not like Juliana. I am different and more devoted follower. I'll prove how devoted of a follower I am. Thank you, your swollen toe.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Is your toe swollen? Because Rachel Hollis had a swollen toe, and she thought that it would be a good idea to draw a nail on it.
When was that?
And I did a whole live stream, because my only live stream ever, I reacted to that podcast, and
about her boyfriend's
I could not
vacation?
believe. Yeah, and I could not believe that she just came up with that swollen thing. Basically, she was saying that in order to pretend like she doesn't have a swollen toe in front of her boyfriend's family, she will draw a nail on top.
I remember that.
It was it was what put me off of Rachel for forever. Like that was like,
the thing.
I'm done. Yeah.
I got it. Hold on. Okay, sorry, we got the standing desk going, so she can't reach until I lift her up, so. Sorry. Tara heard me talking about tarot cards. She's like, let me set the record straight. It's real. Right, Tara? Tell the people.
Oh, nice. That's nice.
I love this microphone. So
cat
soothing.
ASMR. Lovely.
She's very purry, and she screams at me when she wants to be seen. So, anyways, wait, hold on. This is what I have to say about the super chat. I'm sorry you have a swollen toe, but everyone's got problems, so you'll be all right. And thank you very much.
No, yeah, thank you very much. I'm sorry for your swollen toe, but my problems are bigger than yours. So
you have a swollen toe, but I have a swollen
life.
Yeah. I am swollen, so I'm better. Okay. Anyways. Let's listen. What else does she have to say?
They even shot Blake and Juliana a wedding video as a favor to me, with happy, cheerful background music. The list goes on and on. I now realize that all of this was done to gain our trust and to lull our suspicions. If deception is their business, then business is good. I've been saying the same thing since episode 1. They used trick editing, fake narratives, conversations taken out of context, and used all of us, Blake and Juliana included, to tell a story they must have intended to tell from minute 1. Because none of it happened as they showed you. For reasons that are now obvious to us, the film team chopped up 3 years of my life so as to portray me as someone who is constantly angry, jealous, and controlling. You know me better than this.
Which is true. However, I don't like the way it was portrayed.
I am right now. However, the rest of the time, I promise I am not. But right now, I am all these things.
Come on, guys. You know me. I am just constantly daydreaming about Hiroshima and dropping bombs onto children back then. Like, how could I be angry?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to find what happened to Blake. Where is he? Is he over it, or is he...
Gonna mention Blake, I wonder. So like, that loser left, and now I have to deal with bad publicity.
Yeah. He forgot for 1 second that he wasn't a loser, so we had to rectify that.
Yeah, I reminded him.
For his own good, and mine as well. Yeah. Okay. Let's continue. You know me better than this, Teal. I don't know who the fuck you are at all. I have no idea what your deal is. You've been trying to tell everyone for years. I still have no idea. The reporters in Idaho's like, yeah, I do know her. I do know her very well. Everything she says is right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
I admit that just like anyone, I can get angry. But they showed my anger totally out of context to tell a story that isn't true, especially about my relationship with Blake and Juliana.
Uh-huh.
Once again, this last episode is so full of deceptions and misrepresentations that it would take more time than the actual episode to point them all out and explain why they are deceptive or misleading. But here are a few of the ones that bothered me the very most. This episode shows Blake moving out of our house, and of course they edit and splice and spin it to look like he does so because of my cruelty to him and Juliana. But Blake moved out before Juliana ever arrived in America. She wasn't even here when he moved out. In fact, the scene of them moving out was shot the night she arrived in America.
What?
And though it was sad for all of us, it also felt like a progressive...
So why is she calling him a fucking loser? Isn't that worse?
How he was not with her. Is this true?
I don't know. Ask Teal. She knows all the truth in the world.
Okay, let's keep playing. Oh my god, she's so mad.
...of life step at the time, because none of us thought that him moving out would mean anything other than it would give Blake and Juliana a space of their own, rather than pushing Juliana into a position where she would be living with Blake's ex-girlfriend and his employer, with all the intensity and pressures and boundaries that come with that. You know the scene where Blake is burying some fish? They cut it to make it look like the fish had died on that falsified day that Blake decided to leave because of the falsified conversation between us. Nope. The day Blake buried those fish was because he left them in the sun for 6 hours, causing them to overheat and die. I am a vegan and an animal rights advocate, and I admit that upset me. But the point is that the filmmakers edited it to look like it has something to do with me, and like...
I didn't get that vibe. I don't know if it was shot the same day. I didn't really think like the filmmakers are trying to make it seem. I think they were showing the move and they were moving the fish into their new place, but I didn't feel like it was the same day necessarily watching it personally.
No, I didn't think that either. I think what was like that segment was just like, okay, so this is his new life. Like he's in a flat with his wife and they have this fish, and this is kind of like, you know, sad that these fish died, whatever. But I did not think this is like the same day. Like, I don't even think it was the same week, or like could have been like months later, you know, like.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily taking that as like, holy shit, that happened. And okay, like.
It represents some symbolic death of the Blake that was part of my life. No words for that one.
No, I did not see it.
These filmmakers have...
Sorry, I saw it the exact opposite. Like, it was the symbolic death of you for him.
Yeah.
She's like, I am not... he is not a fish to me, and he did not die symbolically for me. And it's like, no, you got it twisted. You were the fish.
Yeah,
you died for him.
Yeah, she's like, no, I don't see it like that.
Like, no, but
I'm the hero in every story.
I count.
I'm looking for updates on him on her Facebook while we watch this.
Continue to craft their creation around a false narrative that I saw Juliana as an adversary from day one.
She said that.
And like a jealous ex-girlfriend, sought to drive her out. They showed absolutely no context and did not present the true facts regarding our relationship in any way. They made it look like I saw an innocent woman as a romantic rival and treated her like an adversary because I want to win Blake away from her.
Yep.
Let me say it again. My romantic relationship with Blake ended 18 years ago.
Then why are you living with him?
We remained friends after that. Juliana couldn't be my romantic rival because there was no romance. Blake was my closest friend, employee, and we worked together. But here's the thing. All that doesn't really...
Yeah, but you haven't heard the concept of if I can't have you, like no one else can, or like, you know, I don't want him, but I still want him around. That's like a very common relationship dynamic that happens.
Yeah,
like,
and she's trying to like make it sound like the romance is all that counts, but no, it could just be very easily. It's a different woman who's like taking your spot. Like, he doesn't believe you anymore. He believes her. He loves her. He's dedicating his life to her, which is what should be, because she's the wife. And she's saying employer, but she didn't pay them.
Yeah, I don't know what money he gets for what. It's weird. All right, yeah, and you can tell she's like seething inside.
Really make for a spicy tabloid story. So the episode shows me crying, wondering what I could have done to get Blake to love me more, alluding to some competition that I have with Juliana to get him to love me more than her. It also makes me look like an idiot. They have edited this footage to within an inch of its life to make it look like I am cruel to everyone. The audience is left thinking, duh, be nicer and people will stay. Here's the reality. The reality is that...
No, is that inaccurate?
No,
She's like, no, you idiots.
She's like, duh, obviously stupid.
It just goes dark.
This works.
Okay, wait. Is that wrong advice or what? I think he would have stayed maybe if he weren't such a mean person to his wife.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yikes.
That we tried for months to work out a resolution to reassure Juliana. It didn't work, and eventually she cut off all contact with us. And
Good.
Blake found himself in a decide between them position, which ultimately led to him deciding to quit.
Good.
The film crew shot footage of Blake that explains the whole thing and shows the true reasons why this happened. But the film team, of course, chose not to show that because it would have cleared me of these accusations, and that was not part of their script. This entire series is a disgusting distortion of what actually happened.
Okay.
They had their sights aimed at destroying me, and they tried to use the person whom I was the closest to do it. It is the most painful thing that has happened to me in my adult life. I have to tell you straight off the bat, that there was a scene in this episode.
I guess she's considering the corpse sewing part of her childhood.
Yeah.
I would find that more hurtful, but I guess that
count.
was pre-adulthood.
Right now, this counts. Right now, this is
editing of a film?
traumatizing.
God.
Like the next Teal retreat will be like how to get over when a team of filmmakers fucks you.
It's very weird.
For everyone who relates, having a
Pure
documentary
vendetta.
made about yourself and
Yeah.
not being a total commercial. Come to my retreat. It's only $50,000.
The low price of your eternal soul. You can come to my retreat to learn about whatever. We can watch the documentary together for $10,000, and I'll tell you all the things that were wrong about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, concocted from a pure... But people who think that they're also being the victim of people who are out to get them, which there's a lot of people that are like that are like, everyone in my life hates me, and they're just all just conspiring against me to be mean. They're going to find themselves in this story. Be like, oh, I've been there. And it's like, they're probably the culprit. They're probably the ones being, mean to people or not taking what they say as, they're taking it for granted or whatever, but they see themselves as the victim always. So a lot of people probably will relate to this and go, oh yeah, that happened to me too.
Those will be few.
Yeah, true. Less mainstream, I agree, but there'll be some.
It was concocted as if from pure vendetta. In this scene, I'm in the kitchen with Blake and I'm furious at him, while he's standing there as if he is just taking verbal abuse with a look of shame on his face. They wanted you to think that my anger is because Blake had finally had enough of being treated poorly and had decided to leave, and so I was berating him for leaving. Just before that scene, I had told Molly that there are no consequences for people deciding to leave. They clearly wanted to show that isn't true. They wanted the audience to think that I am not a self-aware person, because they make it look like I said one thing and did the exact opposite 10 seconds later. But strap your boots on.
Okay, but you still said it and you still called him a fucking idiot. So what's the explanation for that? She's like, the timeline was actually 10 minutes. It wasn't 10 seconds. It's like, it doesn't fucking matter. It's still accurate regardless of the timeline, really.
Okay,
she's getting really semantic.
Explain, I guess.
Strap your boots on, everybody.
Yeah, in case you didn't. It's somewhere here.
We're strapped on.
For this one. When that kitchen scene happened, Blake had already left. Remember that he had moved out before Juliana ever got to America? In that scene, I wasn't angry at Blake for moving out. I was angry because that day, Blake did something irresponsible that actually sent both him and Juliana to the emergency room. There are several more reasons why I was angry that the episode did not show. I feel anyone in my shoes would have been furious, and anyone who knows the full story would agree.
Tell us
And I'm
the
going
full
to
story.
say it. In the face of those facts, I was pretty damn calm. But they left out those details.
What could it possibly be? And why would him going to the emergency room, why would calling him a fucking loser, how would that help in any way?
I don't understand this part that he was living out already.
But he was working there, so he's at the house often.
But Juliana only
enough.
moved there for him. Like,
Yeah.
why would she move to? Why would she move to America for the man that she's in love with, and live in a cult if the man doesn't live in that cult? Why was
Well,
she?
maybe
living there?
he might live like in a different home or something nearby, you know. But I'm sure they spend all day there. So whether they're sleeping there or not,
Yeah.
again, I
he
don't
was
know
in
if
it
that
all the
matters.
time.
Yeah, so I think it's still relevant. She's like, well, no, they actually live in the back property, so it doesn't count. It's not the way that they say it. It's like, okay, I can understand like that there's certain details that you might just assume. Like, I assume they live there, but honestly, it doesn't change the narrative really for me. It's like, oh, so they lived down the street and came over at 7 a.m. and left at 7 p.m.? Still pretty involved in the cult to me.
Or did Juliana come to America, lived with him in a completely different apartment, and then they spent all day at the cult?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, who
Okay.
cares? Yeah, that's what I'm. Maybe I
It's
can
the
believe
sa-
that.
Yeah, it's still
It's the same
relevant.
thing.
Yeah, sure.
And I
Maybe
slept
they're
there
making
on the couch
it symbolic.
sometimes.
Maybe they're making
Yeah.
it symbolic at the end, as in like, look at their life in their flat. But that still means that they left the cult. Like, it's not.
Yeah,
They
the
are
main
living in their
point
flat.
still remains. Yeah, like, oh, well, no, the bedroom was actually, beige, and they said it was ivory. They're liars. It's like, well, the stuff that happened there still happened. Yeah, but it was 10 minutes, not 12 minutes. Like, okay, you can argue those points, but it doesn't really change I'm still waiting for, like, the big shoe to drop. Like, ooh, the big bomb's going to go off. Like, what's the real tea? It hasn't happened yet. It's just like...
He actually did something irresponsible.
I'm gonna keep it to myself though, because I'm so responsible and I'm such a good person.
Yeah. What did he do that was so irresponsible that put them in danger and got into the hospital? Just got too many mushrooms.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they did something irresponsible. They took my class.
He did something irresponsible. He joined my cult.
Yeah, I was mad. He should know better not to join my cult.
He stole my mushrooms.
Yeah. He drowned himself for way too long, for 30 seconds longer than he should have. Irresponsible. Okay.
And edited in totally different events to tell a story that didn't happen for the sole purpose of making me look bad and making Blake look like my victim. Even inserting into the script things I didn't even say during that conversation. Things I said in other conversations in the basement of my house during other conversations about totally unrelated things that had nothing to do with Blake leaving. Also, and this one is especially interesting, when I called Blake weak during that conversation, that was taken from a different conversation where I was defending Juliana because Blake did something that upset her at my expense. But on TV, it's shown as an insult I hurl at him because he decided to leave. I need you to assume that anything I said when they weren't focused directly on my face was taken from a totally different conversation and then inserted into the scene where it did not belong. Wow.
Okay. I feel like this is going to be, because this is what happened with Kim Kardashian in Variety. They were like, the context, the questions, the blah, blah, blah is what led me to say that you are stupid for like sitting on your ass and not working. And I feel like the filmmakers will probably have to like come out and be like, well, here's the
whole
raw,
clip.
unedited.
I hope they do.
I hope they do. I hope they do.
I've been on the other side of that before as a filmmaker, as a video creator, and it pisses me off so bad. And I was working for a company at the time, and it was an interview about this bar that in town that had closed and reopened, and they got rid of. It's so stupid. It's like such a small thing, but they got rid of this jukebox that everyone loved, and so they said like the jukebox is gone and it is not coming back or whatever. And so I put that in the edit and whatever. And people were like pissed about it. They're mad. And so the guy who I interviewed said, oh, the reporter left out the part where I said it's coming back. And I literally was like, no, you did not say that. Like, he did not say, he said the entire clip. And everyone's like, oh, the media is such a liar, the media. I'm like, I will release the entire raw clip if you want to watch it, because he's a liar. And I was pissed. I'm like, how do I defend myself? I talked to my boss and they were like, just let it go. And I was like, ah, like it drove me nuts. I was like, this guy's like making me look like an asshole, and I'm not.
Coming back though.
That jukebox is not coming back. Like, it was such a small thing, but I could not believe he lied. He would just like, I obviously read the comments. Like, he just lied. And then I saw him again later on, like the person, and I was like, he's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, fuck you. Like, get away from me. Are you serious?
Hey, remember
like,
when you lied and told me that I was like false?
Yeah, like that. It's like, you know, so little. It's such a small thing. But like, my reputation to me was like questioned, and I was right. It wasn't like, oh, I really did cut it and he just pointed it out and I should be more careful. No, like, I rewatched it to double check, triple check to make sure I wasn't in the wrong, and I wasn't. And I was like, ah. So I'm sure the filmmakers are probably doing the same thing. Like, how dare you? Because it's making them seem like they're all like evil for no reason.
And they're probably preparing, if they will be like releasing stuff, they'll probably like, you know, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they want to rush it or anything. It just kind of seems like they want to like, I don't know if they're going to do it. I hope they do, because
I hope so.
That was so interesting when like the variety guys came back and they were like, actually, look at this.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. And, you know, set the record straight, make people trust you, because like, people don't trust the media. And I understand why, but at the same time, it's like, when there's an opportunity to prove it, like, prove it. Let's prove it. Like, there's corrections to say that we've made mistakes. Let's, you know, stand up for ourselves a little bit. And I'm saying us as in the media at large, filmmakers, creators. Because otherwise, it's like, then it's like so easy to just run rampant. Like, see, they just photoshopped the whole video. It's like, okay.
Unless they don't want the drama and they're like, oh, fuck this, we're done with it. We've been like working 3 years on this, we're done.
They want the views too, I would imagine. It's going to bring people to watch the documentary.
Yeah. How many views did she get on this? I'm curious.
I think it was 40,000. Was it?
No.
On this one? Yeah, so low.
What they have shown you is not true at all. Also, there was a...
I mean, you're blocking it on your screen, but it says hashtag release the footage. So maybe this is her request for them to release the footage. So she's confident that it's going to show the truth.
But she was also confident that she doesn't run a cult, so...
True. So...
How did that work out?
Hashtag, it's not a cult. It's going to be the other hashtag on top of it.
Hashtag, release the cult.
Hashtag, release the members. Okay. Scene on the porch.
Scene on the porch with Juliana, where I ask her, what would it take for you to go back to Germany?
Oh, yeah.
They make it look like I want her gone, so I'm asking her that question to gain insight into how to make her leave. Well, the truth is in fact the exact opposite. Juliana was having issues at the time regarding her commitment to Blake and being here in this life in the United States. And I asked her what was her tipping point. At that time, I was afraid that she was going to leave and wanted to know what needed to be done to prevent that. Also, you guys know me well enough. I never have a conversation like that, where I ask one super intense question and then look away and sit in an awkward silence. That isn't me. That isn't what I do.
I think people understand that there's editing involved. Like, I don't think anyone is thinking like, oh, that's exactly the live stream event that happened. I think people understand that there's like time cuts and there's dramatic, you know,
but
narrative
it's also
telling.
Very like much her fault. Why is she phrasing things like that? If that's what she wanted to ask, it's like, oh, like, how can we prevent you not going to Germany? Why not say, how can we prevent you not going to Germany? And just instead say, how do we make you go to Germany? Like, exactly how much, like, is it their fault that you said these words and you meant the exact opposite? Like,
yeah, that's on you. And also, like, they're portraying that she's my adversary. like you literally used the word adversary. Like, you are my adversary. She said those words. So like, oh, you're trying to make me seem.
Translated it for Juliana. I mean, like, she means enemy.
I remember that. What is that? Yeah, exactly. What does that
Juliana
mean?
didn't know the word. Obviously, English is not her first language. She was like, I don't know the word. And people were like, she means you're her enemy.
She means she hates you with all of her being. She means she wants you dead. And remember the one scene at the end when they like Blake put on the Teal Swan, the Teal tribe that he was leaving to be with his wife, and they were both on both sides like reading the comments, and he was like, "Oh, this is so nice. Everyone's so supportive." And she's like, Teal's like, "If they really knew what happened, they would want her dead." Remember that part?
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, what did she do? And I guess, you know, Teal's going to keep that close to the vest for whatever reason.
She doesn't want to
you know, doesn't want to say, okay, because there ain't nothing. But she didn't agree with everything that Teal wanted immediately. All right, anyways, okay. I'm almost
This
done.
entire series is an avalanche of betrayals, caught on film. That being said, I need to make something clear to you because some people are confused about this. Molly Monahan, the private investigator, did not work independently and did not work for the film team. She wasn't connected to any law enforcement or governmental agency.
Yeah, we know that.
She worked for me.
Yeah, we know that.
We know.
hired her so that we could improve our business practices and avoid false conclusions that we are a cult.
Yeah, that was clear.
No, we
She
know.
spoke with me once. That's it.
Okay.
Then she
Yeah, that
handed
was
us the
also
draft
clear.
report, and I've never spoken to her since.
Okay.
I'm not sure why
Okay.
she would betray me, her own client.
Why did
Betray you? She did her job, dummy.
How did she betray you? She did her job. She gave you a report. What?
I mean, it's betrayed because Teal thinks if you don't go along with her 1,000%, you're betraying her. She thinks her parents betrayed her friends betrayed her followers betrayed her, the filmmakers betrayed her, the investigator betrayed her.
Imagine, like,
Everyone betrayed her.
Imagine how fucked up must it be to just be surrounded by people that you chose that only tell you exactly what you want to hear, and then you look to the outer world, and the outer world doesn't agree with the echo chambers that you created. Like, whoa, hold on, you guys like see other things? What?
Not allowed. Non-negotiable.
Like, this guy that gives me all his money thinks that I'm right.
Yeah. Weird. It's weird that you have to sign contracts with what you can believe in. It's like, oh God, that's never a good sign when you're at an event. Like, if you disagree with any of my beliefs, you must be excommunicated from this group. That's healthy. When there needs to be threats of, leaving involved with thinking outside the box a little bit. Anyways, okay, so yeah, I know this part is like, I think the filmmakers were more than clear with what she just said. I felt I got that from the narrative that they were telling, 100%.
Yeah, same.
And play TV personality? But I'll find out. Okay, so now let's talk about that scene where we're all discussing the non-negotiables. Guess what? It was my team that came up with that, not even me.
Okay,
it was
Rachel
felt that part
Hollis.
of the reason why Juliana was unhappy.
You need
was
to
because
fire the
despite
team. You need to fire
It wasn't
the team
even me. It was my
immediately.
team. Didn't I say she was going to say that? Like, well, I didn't come up with that. I asked you guys what you think I would think.
Yeah, no, that's okay because she can just kick them out of the cult, and that's fine.
Yeah. She's like, I didn't come up with that. My team did. Yeah, because you know exactly that they're wanting to please you because that's your whole shtick is please me.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Otherwise, you'll say, like, you just crossed a boundary.
You just crossed a boundary. Now I'm going to tell you about why you should kill yourself. That's Teal Swan in a nutshell. I shouldn't laugh, but I laugh so I don't cry, okay? All right.
Several attempts to prepare her, she didn't have enough of an idea about what to expect when Blake brought her into his life. She wanted managerial input into how my personal life and business were run, which was not compatible with her entry-level status. We didn't agree with her suggestions, and that upset her. When this happened, I was painted as the bad guy. The non-negotiables were a fast, rough draft. I admit, my staff wasn't experienced with drafting a list of expectations.
Oh,
We have
the
experts
staff
helping
is
us
bad.
with that sort of thing now.
Okay.
They have
The
experts now.
filmmakers used the footage
We have Jim Jones's ghost writing up the contracts now.
No, it's now the staff. It's not the friends like that she spent like I don't know how many years of her life with. Now it's the staff. They're not even the team anymore. Like 5 seconds ago they were the team. Now they're the staff. Literally they're being demoted as she speaks.
Well, they really fucked this up, so
Yeah,
they need
it's all
to go
their
down.
fault.
She's only an entry-level cult member. I like that.
Yeah.
Entry-level cult member. She's a minimum wage cult member.
Yeah, she's not ready to be a senior Kurt level.
Yeah, her suggestion of me stopping this horrendous practices, we don't take that into consideration.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I mean, I think that was clear too. She tried to intervene to say, hey, this is not okay. Teal didn't like it. That was also very clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is my team brainstorming that rough draft to make us look bad, and the scene is edited to make it look like I'm imposing some set of rules on a group of minions, misrepresenting events to make it look controlling and cultish. Again, this scene is edited to create a false narrative, rearranging what I said to fit the narrative they wanted, which was intended to make me look bad, to make it seem like I want to take away people's free will and control them.
You do.
Let me make this very clear. There is a big difference between setting boundaries and expectations and controlling other people. It amazes me that I even have to explain this. It is so obviously true.
You
People
guys are so
free to
stupid.
decide that if their personal needs and desires are in conflict with the boundaries and expectations that come with my company and my personal life, they can choose a different arrangement. What we were discussing at that meeting was a set of boundaries and expectations for someone joining the core team, working with us every day. Boundaries and expectations
the
that
core
anyone
team?
The core team. The close
That's
friends.
joining like the cold tea.
The cult team. I mean core team. Sorry, the core team.
Yeah, I mean the staff.
I mean the staff of people I barely even know, and I've never met them before, and I have no interest in them.
Oh my god, you guys, these guys need to find other cults because like she does not appreciate their input.
My sweet staff who drafts all of my contracts, they come and draft my contracts twice a week on the toilet. What is it about you that makes? What is it about me that makes you think I'm a cult leader?
Yeah.
Is it because I have a staff that lives with me, or
is it because I don't pay them?
Yeah, it's because I don't pay them.
But also,
I have a compound in which I do frog poison ceremonies. Is that why? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's like, oh my god.
She's. Let's keep playing. I want to see the whole thing.
and can decide is not right for them. In fact, some of you know Tristan by now. Tristan has decided that she wants to be a mother one day. She's in a committed relationship, surprise, surprise, with a man who is not a part of what we are doing in any way. Everyone around me who works for and with me supports Tristan in all of this, just as we would and have supported anyone who wants the same things. Of course, this makes us all sad because we love seeing her every day. But it's not something that threatens the relationship or her position in my company. There are all kinds of people who work for me.
That was kind of a weird addition. Like, we're all sad about the fact that she wants to be a mother and have a relationship, but I guess it's fine. It's like, okay, why are you upset about that? In any capacity.
Who is Tristan? Hi, Z.
I think she's the one. Thank you so much, Z. I think Tristan's the one that had the shirt, I think. The nice spread kindness shirt, I believe. I think. But maybe not. I'll have to look it up.
I did not notice the shirt. I feel so bad. I really wish I noticed it.
It was too funny. It was too good. Z says, I'm so late, and the first thing I see is the new age Tati Westbrook, Teal. I hope everything went amazing with your finals, Cam.
Yes. I call it a corrective emotional experience. Yes, indeed.
This is what Heidi has to say about that, Cam.
I am not emotionally stable.
And always remember.
It's okay to cry.
Yeah.
So
no more crying. It's okay also to not cry. I think I've
okay
done
not
enough
to
of
cry.
that.
Yeah. Thank you, Z, very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tara was like kicking up a storm over here on the desk. She's like, I'm over this. I'm over Teal.
Yeah, so Tara is probably just catching up on the vibes.
Mm-hmm. She's feeling the vibes. She's like
aggressive vibes from Teal Swan.
They are evil and out to get me. How could I have said that when I 1 second ago said this? Doesn't make sense.
How could I say, what will it take for us to send you to Germany, when what I meant to say...
When I said, I hate your fucking guts and you're the biggest loser I've ever met in your life, what I meant to say was that was in the morning. So...
What I
they made
meant
it seem
to
like
say,
it was an afternoon.
Juliana, what I meant to say is, I will pay you to go back to Germany. You guys took it completely out of context. What I
she
meant
doesn't even
to say,
live in Germany. She lives in Bavaria. It's so different. Ugh.
Oh,
these filmmakers.
yikes.
These
Damn it.
filmmakers. They're crazy. They're out to get me. It's a vendetta.
And even Taro is out to get her. Can you see? Like, it's just like meowing at all. Everyone has something against Teal.
Yeah, except for her. Except for the universe at large. They love her because they gifted her the special abilities. But everyone else on Earth, jealous of that. And out to get her. She's the true victim here. I agree.
Obviously.
Who have their own homes, who have their own relationships, who have their own children. The episode says that in the non-negotiable lists, it says that if you're part of the core team, you can't have children. That just isn't true. It says that if you want to have children, you need to live in your own house. That makes sense, doesn't it?
It says that if you
None
do
of my
want to have
employees
children. The non-negotiable doesn't say that if you want to be part of the core team, you can have children. It says if you want to have children, you should probably not be part of the core team. It says it should not. You should think critically of your kids and get the fuck out. That's
Why do
what
they
it
have to
says.
live there?
Literally, you need to get the fuck out if you want kids. It doesn't say.
And that, it's like basically like if you want to have like, okay, let's pretend this is like an office setting, and like you know you're in the, if you want a promotion, you need to, you know, you shouldn't have kids and you shouldn't whatever, or like, you know, if you have kids you need to work in the satellite office. And it's like, but I want a promotion, so I need to get my face in here. It's like, well, sorry, you want things that don't align with our negotiables list. It's like, maybe it's not direct, like they're going to kick you out. But like, if you have to go home every night because you're the only employee that doesn't live on property, now you're being targeted negatively because you're not like, you don't really care about this mission or whatever the fuck, you know, they're doing out in Utah.
And I love
Very
this
weird.
comment from Kristen. I totally agree. Like the PI betrayed her. It's like, so it would be like me saying I did research into Teal Swan and I found out actually she's pretty genuine. So Teal betrayed me because what I wanted to find out was the opposite.
Yeah. She worked for me. It's like, yeah. We know.
She did her
As if this is some secret. Like, guys, she worked for me. Wait, okay, so when's the big reveal coming? No, that was it. I was like, yeah, they disclosed that. It was very clear. Like, I don't know. That part makes me think.
She worked for me and say things that were totally accurate about my cult. Like, she works for me.
I said, you can have children. You just have to have children away the fuck from me. That's what I said. Okay. Don't have your snotty-nosed children near me and my cult. Obviously. not saying you can't have children.
I can't be just like doing a video the next day after a baby has been screaming the whole night. That's what I said. I didn't say don't have babies in my house.
I said, never talk to me again. Obviously. It's very
You want to
easy
have
distinguish.
kids? You want to have kids? Go kill yourself. That's what I said. I didn't say.
That's what I said.
I didn't
If you're
say
not willing
you
to
can't
commit to
have
me,
kids.
just give up. That's Teal. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Why would you want to put yourself through this? The core team. My staff.
Core team. Oh.
None of my employees, this is the caption, none of my employees should expect to live with me. Well, that's a good start.
Yeah.
As a boss.
That's kind of late to the party.
Step one. This is an expectation that should be on your list. Oh, okay. We're almost done.
Expect to live with me while they are raising their kids. I'm not ashamed to say that. For me, that is not negotiable. As I said, we support Tristan and her partner just as we supported Blake and Juliana. The reasons for the conflict with Blake and Juliana were very different, and the documentary doesn't show any of that. One more example that I personally find especially troubling. In one scene, they show my Ask Teal about emotions. It's a video playing on a screen at one of our workshops advising people not to run from their emotions. But that never happened. That video has never been shown at any of our workshops. That's why the editing looks so bad. And the scene of me running,
I thought
they
she said
asked
the
to
editing
take
looked great.
footage of me running.
I guess because like the video didn't play, but again, like I don't know if that really matters to me either. Maybe I'm biased, but
okay,
the fact that video's been shown on her YouTube channel is true. The fact that it wasn't shown in that theater, I don't really care. I think it was the way that they were presenting it. Like, okay, this is something that she says. This is the end of the video, under the movie. I don't know.
And I thought she said that the editing looked great before. The documentary looked
visually,
great.
I guess, except for that
so bad.
scene. Except for that scene.
And she's like, they asked me to take footage of me running, and I call that B footage. You know?
Mm-hmm. B-roll, yeah.
B-roll. Like, you need to get B-roll. Like,
well, she's saying the video never played at a live event. It's like, okay, but the video is still yours. It still exists. It's still what you said. It just wasn't in that. It wasn't played to that specific audience. It's like, but that's fine. I don't care about that. That doesn't change the context of it either.
No.
I think that was just a stylistic choice. They're like, okay, instead of just playing it full screen, we'll impose it onto the theater because
and are we believing her though? Because I don't know if I believe her.
Yeah, I believe her. Sure, I could see it. Okay. I don't think it matters. It doesn't change anything for me.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, like they pulled an audience member out that, they're making it seem like they're watching this video and then the audience member says this in response to watching the video live. Like if that were the case, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's a little bit misleading. But I think it was just they had probably footage of a blank screen and they had people sitting at Teal's thing and they're like, oh, why don't we put it on the screen for the edit and then we'll cut to the video. I don't have a problem with that. I don't know.
I mean, to be honest, like you are in a similar situation right now because right now you are not in a pool, and look at you making it look to everyone like you are in an actual pool right now.
I've actually been drowning for the last 2 hours. I just didn't want to inconvenience anybody.
You guys, just Kayla is the team of filmmakers that screwed Teal. Like, look at that. Teal will watch this video and she will think that you've been in a pool the whole time. And turns out you were not. And it was like edited.
Such a lie. I gave her a gift and then I went into a pool. And so I betrayed her.
You betrayed her, obviously.
The thing is, like, okay, here's something too that I kind of relate to when she's talking about as like the filmmaker side. I've done video production for gurus before. It's much smaller level than Teal, but people I don't agree with, their teachings, their messages, don't agree with it at all. I took the job because it was offered to me and I wanted money and I needed money at the time. And they said, can you make a video highlighting like this conference? I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And I did it. But they assume like I guess that's something I didn't know at the time, that people do assume like, oh, you've made a video for this person, this company, you must align with their values 100%. I'm like, whoa, I never said that. I was not asked on my interview, hey, do you align with our values 1,000%? Because the answer would be no.
Even if you're asked, the answer would be probably still the same because you need the job.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, I want the money. I want the bag. And it's like, minimum wage. It's not even like a lot of money. It's like, I just needed to eat that month. So I'm like, okay, I'll take the job. But yeah, they assume like, oh, you're here filming this. You should be 1,000% on board with everything I'm fucking saying. I'm like, nah, I don't. That's happened to me multiple times.
Every corporation that just like is desperate for employees, you find a job ad, you send an interview, and then they ask you like, so why do you want to work for this? It's, yeah, I've always been passionate about inputting like numbers into Excel. Like it's just my life's passion.
I love oil spills. So when I found out that ExxonMobil was hiring, it's like, let me swim on over.
Oh yeah.
You guys put the slick in oil slick, and that's why I want to be your secretary.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
like,
boy.
So
okay.
I just saw this ad like 2 seconds ago, but I would be saying I've been passionate about this for the last 10 years of my life.
Yeah, like, and the fact that they don't even ask, I'm like, cool. This doesn't even have to be bridged. I'll just make the video and leave. I don't do that anymore because I have, some income now coming in from YouTube, so I feel like I'm able to make choices. But when I'm desperate, man, like, you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
Yeah,
but they assume, like, they do assume, like, oh,
people work jobs because they need the money. Nobody works the job. Like, I don't know. Imagine just working for Tony Robbins and being like, yeah, I'm doing this for Tony because I believe him. No, I'm not being sexually harassed every day because I love it. I just need the money.
I need the money. Some people get it. That's the problem with all this shit about, like, your job should be your purpose. Live your purpose, and be your purpose in life is to work and to have a thing you believe in. It's like, then everyone that works for you apparently has to be on mission and on board with that too. It's like, why do we do this to people? It's like my reasons for starting a company doesn't have to align with the guy I hired to edit the videos. Like, why does that's changed all of a sudden? Like, now you have to align with the company's values as a person. It's like, no, I don't want to do that.
Like, don't expect that. At least don't expect it from me because I have a feeling I'm going to go into a field I really just don't believe a single second in.
And it should be fine. Like, if working was a choice, yeah, if working was a choice, fine, pick what you want. But like, it's a necessity of like survival. So why are you forcing us to pretend we care about your philosophy at, Zappos or whatever company we're trying to work at? It just seems like an unfair thing to put onto people.
Yeah,
personally.
Absolutely.
Okay, 2 more minutes. We're almost done.
They didn't tell me why, and I had no reason to ask. But now I know they clearly planned on combining footage of me running with the Ask Teal video to make it look like I was running away from my emotions, and that I am a hypocrite who doesn't practice what I preach. Again, there are too many problems with this episode to mention. But let me end with this. The part at the end with people raising their hands is staged. They spliced a scene of the audience raising their hands that is unrelated to the question they showed me asking. They did this so they could get hands raised at the exact question they wanted. And again, they spliced an image of me making a smile at a different time into the scene to make it seem like the moral of the story is that I'm such a lonely, miserable person, that the way I get my closeness is by people being in pain.
That's pretty good insight, Teal.
So I want to know.
Accurate.
She asked that question and nobody, is what she's saying, that she asked the question and nobody raised their arm except for in other questions. But in that one, like, there was not a hand raised.
Apparently.
They just totally, everyone was like, no, I'm totally fine. I'm just
I'm just here for the popcorn.
no
and the
idea what you're talking
lobby.
about. Like,
No, not
I
me.
have no trauma.
Yeah, it's like, again, it's like she's explaining the editing process. Like, oh, they took this angle over this angle. It's like, okay.
Yep, that's how
Who cares?
editing
It could
works.
still be accurate, or it could still be, the storytelling device is the same. The narrative is the same. They're just using devices to explain it a little bit cleaner or more compacted. I don't know. I get what she's saying, I suppose. Like, oh, they're making it. Like, the running thing, I don't really remember. I didn't pick up on that. Like, she's running from her problems, but...
She was running... Okay, so there was a shot where she was running. And you know how she has all these, like, mushroom... That's the only way I can describe it. Like, when you're, like, high on mushrooms and you see patterns, that's what she uses in her videos. And they, like, basically placed that on top of her running. And it looked like...
all psychedelic.
It's like, I don't know if... I don't have a problem with that at all. Whatever. Like, I mean, I'm sure they do mushrooms in the cult. That's fine.
We're doing
That's totally
poison
fine
stuff,
with
so...
me. I mean, yeah, the frog poison I'm not so fine with, but do the mushrooms, they're fun.
Yeah. I've never done it. I'm too scared.
Oh, they're so fun. They're so great.
Oh, interesting. That's cool. I'm just afraid. Like, I would, but then I'm like, I don't know. I can barely, like, function as it is. Like, if I'm starting to do hallucinogens, I might tip me over the edge. I don't know.
You just laugh a lot. You just, like, suddenly find everything hilarious, and you see everything in, like, cartoons.
That might
Everything
scare me,
looks
though.
like you're in... No, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Like, you just... I don't know how to explain it, but you will be laughing for 2 hours.
Okay. That sounds like an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, I'm imagining if you take, like, insane dosages, then I guess, like, you just be safe. But, no, it just makes you laugh. It's like kind of like weed.
Okay.
Does weed make you laugh? I don't know if weed makes... I don't like...
Sure.
I hate weed.
Really? Yeah.
do it.
I'm not a big, I don't know. I want to have stuff, but I just like being in control. I don't know. I like the sobriety feeling the best. I've done a few things, smoked weed and drank alcohol, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like being out of control. I like being in control of my
It doesn't make you
stuff.
out of control. Like, unless you take a big dose, you're still like yourself. You're still like in control. But you just laugh a lot.
Okay. That'll be good.
Yeah. No, it's like very, very good for depression.
Okay. Well, one time I took, I did an edible, like a homemade one, and I thought the cops were after me, and it was the whole thing. Like, I was, like, not doing well. So I'm like, okay, never again. And that was kind of my
edibles
experience.
are from weed, aren't they?
Yeah, from weed.
Weed makes you, like, weed is not... I don't understand weed. Like, it makes you paranoid. It makes you antisocial.
Very paranoid.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it was too much. Like, I never use it, and then, like, they gave me, like, a full-on piece, and I'm like, oh, okay, and yeah, it was way too much for me. But that's when I was like, okay.
I don't know why people love weed. I just never got it, because I tried it once and I was like, this sucks. Like, this is such a bad experience.
I don't like smoke either. Like, I barely have lung capacity as it is, and I like to run, so I'm like, I don't want to be smoking anything, and I'm just lame. I can't help it. I tried to be cool even when I was younger. Now I'm just like embracing I'm just not cool in that way.
I hate cigarettes. Like, people like in Romania smoke so much. It's insane. It's just, and I hate it. It smells so bad. I'm not a fan. I did try, like, I had a period like 10 years ago where I was like trying to start smoking because I thought it's cool, but I'm glad it didn't stick, because Jesus.
Yeah, maybe it's for the best for all of us.
Yeah.
Okay, I think she's done basically here. We got like 1 more minute, but I don't know. She looks pissed and she looks over it. I guess we can let it play for a little, just to make sure.
What is there more to say? I'm deeply troubled by all of this. I'm troubled by the casual and complex misrepresentations and distortions that are no different from lies presented as the truth. I'm troubled by what they were willing to do with people's lives for whatever gain they imagined or expected. And I'm super glad that was the last episode, and I can now get back to my true work. But please know this. too many times in the past, I have tried to take the high road, and I did virtually nothing about this sort of thing. I realize now this was a major mistake. In fact, it encouraged people who intended to harm me and my work to think that they can harm me without any response on my behalf to defend myself, my family, my company, and the people who follow my content. And this is ending now. And again, I call on the filmmakers to hashtag release the footage so that everyone can see the actual truth.
Yeah, right. Because everyone they're just gonna put it on Teal Swan's website.
Yeah, for
all of it.
$100.
That
was a weird ending.
She's
like evilly like,
yeah.
Oh, that snarl, that little like lip thing, like.
She has that all the time. She has it all the time. I don't know how people can stand her. She's clearly such a bitch.
Yeah. God, Cam, women can't hate women. How dare you say that about another woman? Ugh.
I don't know how Juliana feels about that statement.
Yeah. I hate that argument. Someone said that on my page the other day, like, how dare you say that about another woman? I'm like, so if I said all the things I said about a man, that would be fine, but because it's a woman, somehow it's a bigger offense. It's like, why are we doing this to each other? It's so stupid. Women must support women at all times. That's the rule when you're born. says
I mean, I will say the people who supported me in my career were women. But men, not so much.
But all women? Yeah, I guess, true. I don't know. It's like I have to
believe
everything every woman's ever said. It's like, no, I refuse to do that. Sorry.
Only 2 women, and one of them was paid. So.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, this was great.
I'm
so
fun.
glad to be back.
Yeah, me too. I know. We got to get back on our schedule and start to pick people again that we're going to cover. Get our list out again.
Yeah.
Who are you feeling? I don't even know who it is. Who's next week, or we got to get back on our back and forth schedule.
I don't know. We'll have to think about it. But maybe we should do Jenna Kutcher because she's coming out with a book.
That's true. I mean, we talked about her before, but there's always more to say.
Oh yeah, there's for sure will be some tea being spilled, and then she'll be like, "They took it out of context, you guys. What I wrote was
what I meant to say was,
yeah, only that Toy Marie is a bitch, you know."
I will say though, and not to like stir up controversy, but Toy had a take the other day that I disagreed with, and I was like, damn, I don't like that. I don't like what she's saying. And then I felt like, should I say something that I don't like this? And I was like, no, I don't know. I don't think I'm obligated just because I supported her before to like make a statement like I disagree with this. So I didn't say anything, but she said like something like white people should not own more than one home. I'm like, why whites people specifically? And secondly, I think the bigger issue is corporations owning, 1,000 properties is the real issue. So I was kind of disappointed a little bit in her take, but
yeah,
has a right to their opinion.
I mean, I don't know enough about that, but I would imagine that Black people in America probably are owed a lot of things.
Totally. Oh, I agree with that, but I don't think the solution is like white people should be limited. It's like by that. I don't know. I think it's like.
No, I think probably like it's kind of
maybe
misplaced.
Income might be a better way to cut it. If you make more than something amount, then maybe I don't know. I just thought that was like I was like, damn, all right.
If Black people were just given their own properties, I think that would fix it.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, that would not fix
I don't know
everything.
the solution.
That would not fix everything, but that would definitely like be a start because for a very long time they were not even able to buy properties or they were not paid for their labor. They were not.
Yeah. There's so much. There's so much you could talk about. And maybe the good thing is the silver lining of it is like, even though I didn't agree with the take, it's like it opens up the conversation for like other solutions because there is an issue for sure. There is definitely an issue. But I would argue, and I tend to argue that, it's less of a color issue, more of a class issue. And it just so happens that, because of those issues, slavery and civil rights not happening until very late in our history, that it caused, Black people to be on the lower end of the economic spectrum, but it's still an economic issue. It's not a skin color issue. So that's why I start to get turned off by it.
I don't know if I think it is a skin color issue in America. I don't know if in other places, but just because of the nature of how Black people ended up being in America in the first place, I think, because I know, I think my ex did a documentary on Frederick Douglass, I think it's called, and he was in the States. He's an American, or he was American, and he was not able to go to university. He was a doctor. He was only accepted in Scotland. Like, America did not accept him in a university because he was Black. And so there was like a lot of like
there's issues now still with getting housing. That is a skin color issue. But I think it just, when it gets, it's hard. It's a hard thing to put onto social media because it takes away all of the other stuff. When you say, this is the solution for this problem, and it's so simplified, it's like, there's a lot of things to say about like that and like what, all of the problems that could arise from that. I don't know. It's just hard to like, it's an essay. It's not a post on Instagram. So it's hard to, debate it.
Agreed. But I think that's how she communicates. So I think,
Sure.
It's fair enough to kind of stand by. I mean, I saw the post. I was not surprised. That's like Toy is vocal about these things. She's very vocal. She's a Black activist, and she will forever fight for that. I would say that it's kind of a misplaced anger almost, because I think taking on individuals like will never lead anywhere. It will, or not. It's not that it will never lead anywhere, but I think it's more to like there will have to be like systemic issues that need to be addressed. Like this,
totally.
If anything was to happen, if like Black people would be given property, they would not be given by you or me or like anyone. It would be by the government. Like the government will have to do their own. But it does start with social discussions and stuff like that. So I guess it's like a place to start.
It needs to be expanded upon, and I agree. It's a minority issue, but I feel like there's not as many, but there is a lot of white people too that are facing the same issues because of poverty, and I feel like they get left out of the equation, I guess. And that's where as a white person who is on the lower spectrum of the economic world, less so now, but definitely when I was a kid, it felt like if you were white, you were rich. And it was like, that's not true. I'm struggling with all the same stuff, that you guys are. And it felt just like kind of like you're forgotten a little bit. And maybe that's a bad take, but it's a race/economic issue. And I think they should both be addressed. Like white people that make a certain amount, or any person that makes this amount, like why is there a race tied to it? And I know that it's because of all these reasons, but still, I think even if you took the race out of it, it's still, you still are affecting the right people.
Yeah, and I think what you're probably thinking right now is, or I'm not sure you're thinking that, but the stuff that you're describing, like if you want the society to be helped, that's like socialism. That would be, but I feel like America's not ready. I don't know. I think people are starting to get ready, but like I think you guys are still a bit far from that.
We're so far. I think that's a very positive take. I think we're so far away from it.
Yeah, exactly. But like that would be, there is no reason why the government should not provide housing for the population. That's like housing should be a human right. Like there shouldn't be people living in the streets. There shouldn't be. Like that's just. But that's like the politics of this. I feel like every time I mention like anything about these things when I was making content about Scotland, oh my god, like people, like the Americans that would come across it, they would be like, I don't think you should have free healthcare. I'm like, what?
That's because we don't have it. That's why they think that you don't. Like, yeah, they're like, yeah, it's like It's like, well, I don't have it, so you shouldn't have it either. Like, people who are older are like, well, my childhood, I had to work 25 jobs in the factory, so you should too. It's like, why do we do that to each other?
Yeah,
I catch myself doing it
just...
too, though. I'm like, oh, I suffered, so you should suffer too. It's like, why am I like this? Stop.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's just such a different mentality. This is that I think I remember like getting into not necessarily an argument with someone, but like they were just insisting on this idea that they would rather pay themselves like a very high like insurance instead of the government taking some money out of their taxes to send to these things. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think that people realized just how much like you guys are paying for these things. Like it's insanity on this side of the world. Like even
if you go to the emergency
room,
room, it's like 10 grand, no matter what you get. It's like $10,000 is coming your way, a bill. And if you don't pay go bankrupt.
I saw TikTok that it costs like 10 grand on average to give birth in the States. That's insanity. That's free. That's free over here. Like you don't pay anything. Like
I lived in Canada too, so yeah, and it was the same. It's free. You know, there's certain things, but even I don't know, like you think like, oh my gosh, like Canada must be a horrible place to live and awful. It's like they're doing fine. That's why it's like we don't have to go completely totally away from where our ideals are as a capitalist society, but just like adding the healthcare, I think would be all right. But you know, good luck.
Yeah, it's hard to have these conversations because I think that people are so used to the system as it is, and they just cannot like imagine that it could be better in a different way. I think what they think is we're trading this for something that will screw us, but like if it's done right, like you're screwed already in the first place, and then if it's done right, it would like take off so much, alleviate so much pain from people. And because like right now I don't know exactly the details of it, but as far as I understand, if something happens to you and you don't have insurance, you're like just
I don't have insurance.
They don't even look at you.
They'll treat you, but you're gonna get the prices that are like, you know, okay, this procedure, you got if I had a surgery or something, I mean, I would have to go bankrupt. There's no way you could pay it. There's no way in your lifetime. It'd be like $100,000 plus. You would or you'd get Medicaid, but I don't think I would even qualify because I make too much to qualify. So I have to get my own insurance, but paying your own insurance is very expensive. So it's like basically, you know, you get married to somebody that has insurance is like the solution, I guess.
The reason why this really scares me is because Romania is very influenced by America. Like I even see like news from America, and I'm like, how did we get these like random? Oh, this happened in a random town in the States, and I was like, why is this why is this shown on Romanian TV? It's in English.
Interesting.
It's Americans from very far away, you know. And I think it's just because of the political relationships between Romania and the States. Like we've been like, I don't know. I think Bush was like one of the presidents that was like always here giving speeches. I don't remember exactly. I don't know. But basically, lots of things in the Romanian society are similar. We are a lot more similar to you guys than we are to like the Brits, or like for some reason I don't know, maybe it's also from the media and TV, and because we had a lot more access to American TV than any other kind. And I see now on the TV these like commercials for medical insurance, for private medical insurance. And we do have like we have state for free, state healthcare, and you also have like the private sector. But I'm now seeing these like private health insurance things like so often on TV, and I'm like, oh my god, they're just like trying to go in that direction, and I'm like, no, please don't.
Interesting. Yeah. Again, that I don't know the solution either, it would take a lot of work to get it done. So it feels like this impossible task. So I think people just give up and go, okay, I'll just hope for the best, cross my fingers, and then hope that I don't get sick, you know? And if I do, well, I hope I die quick so I don't have to pay the bills, you know? Like that's like horrible, but that's kind of how it seems. Like you got to kind of just be optimistically naive to it all, unfortunately. But But yeah, I think, I'm hesitant to talk about these types of topics because I'm like, I don't want to offend people, or I don't want people. It's not even that I want to offend people. I don't want to be judged for my beliefs, but that's like stupid, and I need to get over that. So I feel like,
But it's like, it's not even about that, but
more.
it's just the only way to like kind of build on the beliefs, if that makes sense as well. Because like, if you hadn't been open to the idea that the self-help industry was bad, if you had been just completely, like you probably were for a period of time, like I was, completely closed off to the fact that this could be total BS, then you wouldn't, something opens your mind, and then you like start to like kind of explore that, and that only happens when you are not in an echo chamber like Teal. And I think this is probably why she's so shocked right now that like those filmmakers could see things in such a different way than her, because
it is crazy, especially with social media, how much you can get into an echo chamber very quickly. Like when the election came up in 2020, well, before that, when the election season happened, like I was so in my own world that like it, and for a lot of people too, when the two sides started to come out and rally and stuff, it was like, whoa, like I didn't know this existed. And I think a lot of people felt that same way, like, oh my gosh, like these feelings like exist, like these people have these beliefs, and it's like, oh my God. But now it's more evident, it's easier to like navigate through. When you are unaware, it's very shocking, like, oh wow, like, okay, that's a hot take. But the more you hear it, the more it seems like, okay, I can deal with this. I can understand that type of person or that type of belief or whatever. So I think that, maybe the initial shock of hearing something for the first time, like, oh, and then you're, oh, okay.
Yeah. I think I can totally see that. And I think it's just necessary. And I'm so like, I don't know, maybe I'm just totally off, but I'm so like optimistic with TikTok. I feel like people are like finally like starting to have some I don't know, maybe it's just the niche I find myself in.
Yeah,
maybe, but like people are so like just verbalizing their distrust in like politics, and just they're having conversations with people like across the pond and stuff, and people are like, I even saw like this person asking people to stitch, like they were like, what do you guys think about us Americans? And like so many people stitched, and I'm sure that loads of people were probably taking the piss or whatever, but still like she was like, okay, I want to see what others think, like because obviously and it's important to have these conversations. I don't know, I'm very optimistic with TikTok. I see so many like amazing things on it.
I agree. I love TikTok.
Really kind of have opened my mind and my horizons a lot.
I agree. I look, TikTok's my favorite platform of all because it is so different, and I don't know, the algorithm is so good. I'm sure it's evil in a lot of ways, but for now I'm enjoying it as well.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you guys for being here today.
Yes, we appreciate it.
Back on our regularly scheduled programming on Thursday at 12 EST.
Eastern Standard. As Teal would say, love and light. No, she wouldn't really say that, but she'll say, this ends now.
Like, they betrayed. You guys betrayed us. Goodbye.
Your comments have betrayed us. and she like gets up and walks in. Goodbye, everybody.
But this was edited, by the way.
Yes, everything has been edited, so blame our team. Wait.
Staff.
Oh no, we already did it. I was going to say we didn't do the pyramid, but she's already at the top. She's ascended past the pyramid, so she's still at the top.
Oh, yeah. Teal
baby.
Like, just like on a different planet.
Literally. She's on planet, the one that Scientology believes in. Theros, I don't know. Theranon, whatever planet they're coming from.
The flat Earth one.
Yeah. She's on flat Earth. She's the queen of flat Earth.
All right. Well,
anyways, all right.
See you.